What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto finds a summoning contract in Wave? If you enjoy this video then please like, share and do comments. A blonde boy's eyes opened to see a clear wide blue color sky, where, he said, sitting upwards when he realized he was lying on the ground. He took a moment to look at the clothing he had on. It was rather old and made shoddily. My head, oh shit? He looked around to see he was in a grassy field and paled. Did I die, again? He looked at a nearby puddle to see his face, and the person realized he looked like an 11-year-old kid. This is Naruto Uzumaki, and this is his third death. Naruto's past life. This is some bullshit. A raven-haired teen shouted as he miraculously dodged a sure shot in the game. My fucking GMs have more speed and flexibility than this piece of shit, he roared before systematically gunning down enemies. Dude, pass me my due, he said as an older teen male nodded as he passed the blonde a red color soda. With lightning speed he drank it and quickly evaded another shot. In the words of Tucker from Red vs. Blue, booyah . He shouted and blasted a robot's head. My kneecaps. Naruto nearly laughed his ass off when he heard that line, I aim for your head not. Sighing he saw the mission complete as he survived the moment. Pass, he said, passing the older teen the controller who sighed, as Naruto was only playing the hard fighting parts. This was the second day of hell they were forced to do. Naruto was a regular old person, who died in a ninja world that he somehow entered into. Adopted into a family with 2 children, although the big difference is that he has no chakra and his hair was pitch black and no whisker marks on his face. But he and his older brother lived on their own. Well, his older brother did, and Naruto often crashed at his place more than his home. And currently playing a Nightmare of a Otome video game, a game where you're a girl to date handsome dudes to have a happy ending. This horrid game has stupid elements mixed into it. A school period is usually okay, it makes sense for many of the games in this series. Okay, add a small magic background lore to this? Kinda adding a bit, but it's sometimes worth it. Then let's add almost Dark Souls difficulty of mecha battles that make Gundams like a game of checkers. Pick a goddamn theme, asshole devs. Sorry about that, it was pissing me off real bad. The older brother of Naruto said as he had no choice but to ask him to help play this goddamn puzzle of a game. Yeah, no shit. Naruto spat out in annoyance. Fortune Lover was way better than this one. And Maria is way cuter. Agreed. The older brother sighed. Why did our sister buy this, the guys? The 2 brothers declared, watching the older brother skipping the dialogue when they passed it. Also, thanks for buying and linking your Gundam BO3 account to the game, making us easily beat the game like this. He said the first playthrough was so bad that they had to buy in-game purchases. And thanks to beating the game, they can use this special pass that the company allows the player to connect to another game for better mecha to pilot. You know, it's sad that we're using mass-produced Zakus to easily kill the enemy. The brother of Naruto mumbled at the sheer easy progress that had been made for this. Yeah, Naruto sighed heavily. I don't know what the hell those devs were thinking when they were making it. Are we really complaining that we were kicking ass, when this game did that to us? Hell if I know. His older brother sighed, unless it's really consensual, I really don't think this should be even developed in the first place. Naruto nodded as they also started to send their mother evidence that will screw over their sister. The only reason they played this game was because Naruto's youngest sibling, a long time ago, lied to their mother her incredibly large collection of yaoi hentai, boys love hentai, and eroge for women were all her oldest brother's own secret stash. This made the oldest sibling value in the family drop, save Naruto, who knew the truth, and basically only talked to the family for important things. Their sister, who promised to tell the truth but only if they finished the game, she couldn't. Naruto visited his older brother to hope to spend time on Golden Week, only for it to be stopped as he promised to help him with the game. Once again leading to many annoying things about this game, but the other romance routes were easy when you can easily snipe the bosses with a Gundam tank Zaku. Too bad we never got a chance for me to bring out my other Gundams, especially when the new Gundams I got are my favorites. Oh well, might show pity to these idiots, he said as both brothers sighed. They could have just sent the evidence of their sister basically lying and using the money meant for school that they parents gave her for stupid stuff like shopping or hanging out with her friends. But their pride as gamers were on the line. Walking out of the oldest brother's apartment they were happy and, whoa, didn't think 2 days of straight gaming would be this bad, right Aniki? Aniki? He said, looking alarmed when his brother was shakingly walking near the stairs. No, he shouted, rushing to push his older brother away, only to blink when he swooned back first into the steps. Shit, he whispered. His only sight was his older brother shouting while trying to reach Naruto who cracked tilde. Present time. Ah damn, so that's twice in a row. Naruto sighed, laying back down. TCH phantom pains, he whispered, rubbing the back of his head. So he reincarnated again, this time in a world that seems like England or something. Japan never had this much grassy areas even in the countryside. He looked up and saw the sky again. It's like we're going to be stuck up there. He whispered. Never in his life he felt this close to the sky. I might be in heaven. Oh Naruto. The young kid looked to see a nun walking toward him. You shouldn't leave your classes. I know you're advanced for your age, but you still have to take your classes. Instead of cloud watching, I thought you were going to aspire to be a holy knight? Huh? Holy knight? Naruto wondered. What was she talking about? The woman looked around and kneeled before him. I know you want to stay with us, but you're lucky. You're kind, sweet, strong, and very handsome for such a child. That's why you need to keep your lessons up. Others will try to hurt you or use you. Becoming a knight will allow you to choose more things instead of staying in the Foodling Islands here. Naruto trailed off. He really didn't know what was going on. The nun sighed as she realized he wasn't understanding. Come with me, she said, taking his hand to walk him to the courtyard that was nearby, showing him a statue of what causes his world to quake. Look, our founder Lord Ashblaze, the founder of the Knights of the Borderline. Naruto whispered, ignoring the woman's next words. Knights, floating islands, and now this NPC telling him the lore. There was no doubt. I'm stuck in this damn game, he whispered darkly. That means in less than 9 years, war is going to break out and kill the whole kingdom. No powers, no Gundams, and worst of all, he was stuck in the normal difficulty, the same one that took a day to beat with his brother helping him. Why, just why? What kind of god did I piss off this time to deserve this? A year later. Hey kids, food's ready, Naruto said, lining wooden bowls with thick portions of creamy chicken stew, and some bread. Remember, those who have leftovers don't do training with me. He remembered as the kids all nod dutifully as they collected their meals from him, making the blonde smirk at their enthusiastic chewing. Try to close your mouths while you eat. I taught you guys at least that. Thank you for lunch. The kids clapped their hands together and bowed once before they dug in. Naruto was going to his meal, that is until he saw one of the nuns walking to him. Mother Maddie, what's wrong? He asked, putting his spoon down to see the woman walking with a worried look. That was her usual response on what they have been talking about for the last few weeks. Naruto, I need you to stay calm, she said as Naruto glared at her, walking away as he took his food with him. And Naruto, please, this is good. He shook his head. No. I'm not going to a snooty school for learning nor leaving to be adopted by some dirty old hag who wants to groom me to be her future lover. Naruto. No. That is my decision. You can't change my mind. Naruto said vehemently. He will not be a pawn for these nobles. This world was disgusting to him beyond anything he felt before in his 3 lives. In this world it's a nobility rank system, but these nobles are despicable. They treat commoners less than weeds. But the worst is the women who hold most of the power, who are lazy, adulterers, and cruel to men. He lost a friend too. I know, the nun gently said, I miss him too. But this woman is kind, she's been helping this city for years. She promised as Naruto turned back with a stare. No, you don't know? Naruto said coldly, looking over his shoulder while glaring at her. You have no idea at all what he had to go through. The woman didn't dare speak but sighed. But you promised him to at least try if it means to help the others one day. She reminded the teen who signed at that vow. Goddammit, he ran a hand through his hair. This was to keep his plans on track. Let's do it, Naruto grumbled. The quicker he does and the quicker he'll get back on his planning. The nun took Naruto to her office to make the child meet with the person that wished to see him. When reaching towards the door, the nun gently knocked on the door. My lady, are you prepared? Naruto looked to see a lovely woman in white, wearing a dress made from the finest material and pure as the driven snow. Matching her skin and hair color, which was the holy color of white, red ruby-colored eyes that gave a kind warm feeling to them. Her hair was long and beautifully well maintained. All in all, she looks like some kind of queen herself rather than a noble. Standing behind her was a slightly tan man with tear-colored hair wearing a blue military suit, no doubt her protector. The woman started to see Naruto glaring at her knight. "Oh Jerry," she turned to the knight who raised an eye at the name. "Please wait outside as me and Mother Maddie will talk to the child." "My lady, the man started as the woman gently raised her hand as the man sighed. "Very well." With that he walked past Naruto and closed the door. Naruto relaxed his shoulders as he looked at the woman, bowing politely, greeting your Tilda. The woman frantically waved her arms about, shocking the two other people. "Please don't do that. I feel itchy when people do that to me," she begged before her skin crawled comically. It's happening again, Tilda." "Your nobility?" he said as he heard a soft chuckle from behind the door, as the woman scratched the back of her head. "I mean, I am a baroness, but really I don't do much as one in my status does. I help the commoners and lower ranks rather than expand my status or such stuff," she innocently explains as Naruto listens intently only to find truth in her words. "But I need an heir as my family expects me to have one." This made Naruto on guard again. "So why me?" he asked as the woman laughed nervously. "I heard your kind efforts on getting the other children with families rather than yourself. Not only that, you're rather amazing in your school lessons. Some of the nobles are lacking in some of the talent you put in," she explained as Naruto comically smirks in the back of his head for that. 2 lifetimes certainly does give one a big head start, when one was for combat and the other lifespan was spent studying. He had enough knowledge to outpace most men in this world. "Okay, so I'm kind, that's it?" The woman nodded sincerely at the question. "Yes, it's only that." She looked at the young man in his eyes, surprised at her action. "I want an heir who believes in others and not in status. I want to live in my household with a leader like I am, who wants to help others rather than his own concerns." "So you want me to kiss the asses of those pricks?" he said with a dark look as the woman glared at him. To her own shock, she lifted him by his shirt collar, making the nun gasp at the sight. "Don't you ever suggest my family did that. My family and their actions were always helping the other royalty that are best to help the nation. We don't bow our heads like the families that were chosen due to their lower ranks. We stare back at those higher ranks and deny them our help if they are greedy and lazy." Naruto can see her pride in saying those words. "To ensure our family continues those lines of thought and actions, I saw and heard your own talents. Naruto, will you be my son?" Naruto took the moment to compile this into pros and cons. This woman seems to be the minority of kind nobles which were rare in the game he played. Those who were kind to the heroine were good allies to get extra points for studying in magical prowess. And this woman was one of them. But a big con is to be part of that nobility world. In the game it was a living hell for the protagonist when the romance stuff and battles weren't part. They were vicious, both males and females, to anyone who wasn't the same rank or higher. The fact that the bad ending was her ending her life from the bullying was. Naruto dragged his hands to his face and sighed. "All right, on a condition," he said, lifting a single finger at her. "I will be present for any and all decisions on my future," the young man declared as the woman nodded with a soft smile. "As a mother should for her son," she said as she realized something. She still had Naruto in her fist. "Ooh, let me put you down, ehehe." Doing so, the woman looked at the nun, who let out a breath of relief and noticed Naruto's sad look. "Will it be all right for him to continue to help the orphanage?" "Why yes, if that is all right with you, Baroness Harmonia," the sister declared with a grateful smile. The woman smiled at Naruto as she took his hand into her own, although frowned sadly when he looked mildly uncomfortable. "Let's get you to our home," she said sweetly as she was happy to find the perfect heir to her family. A few months later, Naruto was currently reading books in his rather large room, almost twice the size of his past life brother's apartment. He had a large living room that connected to another room with a large regal bed that had beds that practically knocked out Naruto every time he laid there. As it was stated, he was in his living room on one of the fancy couches, reading a book on magic theory. It was a rather okay arrangement with his new guardian, Mother. True to her words, she was a good noble. She took time to help Naruto understand their environment. Her family were recently given the Baroness title due to her accomplishments on creating a safer city in major and minor cities while creating a stronger economic system from her cities. From what he gathered, she should have been famous for that alone. but instead of using the money and fame to gain more power. His mother used it to help the commoners and even lower-rank families who, although rare, have the same views as her. Their family only works for the nation and its people, not to the royal family, not to the financial gain, nor their own sakes. There was no real reason why, for as long as her family knows they all agree to this. Any family member who dares to think otherwise has two choices: leave the family or forfeit their position and power in the family when coming of age to being an adult. Harsh in Naruto's opinion, but given on how nobles in this world often do anything for more power and financial power that was for the best. They would still have a family and home but no chance of usurping the power for evil intentions. Thankfully only a handful of such members had appeared in the last few generations of their family. Although that was possible, the reason why is that due to family standards for their family goal. They had only few marriages because of that problem. Due to the abundance of bad nobles, they are overly cautious to have their children married and would rather have commoners to be spouses than fellow nobles. Which didn't help on their rather low rank in the nobility despite contributing so much towards their homeland. His mother was the few pure-blooded nobles as her parents were both nobility. While it was not necessary, it helped her gain a head towards the head status of the household. The rest was all hard work and her drive to help others that cemented her status. Now he was attending a rather prodigious school for children which he already excels greatly despite him attending mid-year. It was honestly easier compared to school in Japan, especially the private school he went to from his stellar grades. Although he understood firsthand the sad one-dimensional characters of his schoolmates, the second he revealed his mother's name and ranking they all wished to be his friend. It was rather sad that even at the age of children who were supposed to be carefree had to care about choosing correct allies. Even some tried to bully him into their alliances. Thankfully a small itty-bitty killing intent made them back off, thinking they had bad feelings about choosing Naruto. Sadly at the moment he hadn't seen any of the main characters from the game. He was wondering if he really was in. It could be years before the game events, as some of the things they learned seemed to be peaceful. As for the situation, even before the events, the country had a lot of problems, from a small nation fighting them and sky pirates. So far neither were on the rise nor rumored about. Then again, most of the nobility shrug off the pirates and let the army handle them. And they wouldn't inform the children of the nation's problems at least until high school, or the equivalent to this world, finishing school. Despite having these thoughts in his head, Naruto finished his book on magic armor history, nearly wanting to tear his hair off from the pointless mecha suits. In the game they were a constant pain to use, more so thanks to the dating targets restrictions on many of them. And after playing the battle aspects of the game, you have to repair them during the time in the dating part, which can screw you over as well. Fake, master, repair specialists, outclass items that wouldn't do well in the next battle, and not to mention even the most powerful armors are glass cannons. Unlike his Gundams that he used, they were easily able to tank a bunch of hits while doing moderate damage. Play smart and you win, and that was a frickin' GM or Zaku, not the top tier stuff. All what Naruto read was just the author practically bragging on his great ideas and contributions and giving a detailed history. Even the books that are supposed to help pilots are blowing hot air. Seriously, I would kill for a GM. A Zaku, hell, give me prototype Gundam and I'll call it a day. He sighed as he heard the door to his room to show Jeremiah and his mother Guinevere walking with smiles on their faces. It wasn't too long until his mother's personal knight warmed up to him eventually. It was a bit odd that a man so suspicious of him now warmly greets him. Lord Naruto, we have good news, he said before allowing the lady of the Harmonia family to speak. The white-haired woman took a seat in front of Naruto. My son, if you're okay, we will go to a party in a little bit. It's in the royal castle. She started giggling at her son's confused look. I'll be right back, Jerry? She turned to the man with a smile. Please tell him the reason why this party is for. The man placed his hand over his chest, where his heart would be. Yes, my lady, he said with a confident look, watching her leave, and turned toward Naruto. My young lord, the party is for. He coughed into his fist, no doubt a bit embarrassed by his next words. To show you off. Naruto nearly laughed at that. His mother was overly affectionate towards him. It was a funny sight to see her dote him. While he was technically an adult in his mental state, she wouldn't know that information. But she was a parent after all, her son being an exemplary member of her family and one of the top best students in the royal school. Alright, But something else is happening, since the reason I'm going? Jeremiah crosses his arms as he ponders on if he should tell Naruto. Soon he uncrosses his arms as he nods. Yes, as you know, your mother and by extension her family keeps their loyalty to the nation, not the royal family or others. But she has close friends with many good-natured people, while she will not join out of her family principles. Naruto finished with a soft smile. She still made good friends. He said, knowing his mother was a kind person, and it warms his heart to hear that she still has people to trust. But he sighed, this means that he has to really get ready now. Since this will be the party where 2 of the 5 captured targets are going to attend, Julius and Jilk, who will be there. If his mother's friendship to the royal family is still strong, there will be no doubt that he will be able to meet them. This will give him a good chance to get his plans ahead of time, since 2 are harder to romance options besides the one Naruto is currently thinking of. Obviously he wasn't going to even consider romanticizing them, but he can be their close friend and steer them into getting ready for war. Sadly, due to their way of life and shelter upbringing, they might not be able to cope with war unless he steps in. The game definitely showed him how ignorant to the world they really were, easily being swayed by rumors that the protagonist gains if she fails her class or has a bad reputation. That also reminds him of being unable to look for the girl considering outside the school and some tidbits on her past. The heroine's past is nearly unknown. If he had time and the manpower he would be able to investigate her more, but he was just doing so much already to look for male harem. Oh god, that sounds wrong for another guy to think that. Shaking his head, Naruto said, alright, so, when do we leave? Jeremiah looked at the clock, before a sinister look crawled into his face. About an hour. Plenty of time to explain some rules for the party. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. This man made it impossible to go, but his mother had to make sure that he would be perfect for this. And of course he will go the distance, shit. Royal Palace, an hour later. Jeremiah is a jerk, he whispered to his mother as the knight behind them was smirking. Though I didn't know there were rules on forks. Naruto said with a worried look. His mother was rather lax when it came to royalty rules, only when others besides their close family allies came to visit. They only ate meat and soups as both his mother and himself find salads gross. Usually the maids had to tie them both down to chairs to force feed them. The sad part is it takes most of the staff to make the woman eat them with him. But of course, dear. It's common knowledge that salad forks are on the outside and dinner forks go inside. The woman said, although her face was also shadowed with worries. Apparently she also forgot and Jeremiah just told her what she forgot. It's a first for me. Naruto cried out in his thoughts. Both took a deep breath and sighed, fuck, damn my life. They said in unison as they arrived at the party. After a quick airship ride and walk, the 2 were walking down the castle corridor to see the other families also arriving. At that point Guinevere looked serious. Naruto, remember the families I told you to be wary of. She no longer had a carefree look as both son and mother got their game faces on. The party was for her to formally introduce Naruto to royal society as much as it's a pain for both members. It was something to do quickly as many children would have been exposed earlier. He had to do it or face ridicule when attending higher learning institutions, but another worry was the factions they had to avoid altogether. They were the biggest influence now since her son is her heir, meaning the last family who is neutral save for their country loyalty. Is the biggest catch for any of them to want. Girls would attempt to woo Naruto, men will bully Naruto. The sheer idiocy to recruit a child into joining a legion of idiots. Yes mother, I'll be careful, Naruto said, rather nonchalantly. The gates to the main dining room opened, allowing the families to enter. The woman looked down at Naruto as she slipped her arm around Naruto to prevent any older hussies from seducing him. I'm serious, Naruto. She gave her son a bit of a worried frown. The blonde sighed, waving off a girl who was winking at him. I know. I'll make sure to stay away from them. He promised and earned his mother's approval. Separating her arm, the 2 reached the dinner table. Good, and, oh dear lord, they have the sinner's dessert. She whispers as Naruto looks to see a rather normal tray of cupcakes. Fair of warning, don't eat this. Mint cinnamon frosting on quite dry cranberry bread. It's as hurtful as it is pretty to eat. Naruto held back a smirk when watching her visibly shudder in disgust. Noted, so what's the plan? He said as both took a small plate and got a rather easy to eat and also easy to not spill sauce food. I would like to make you stay by my side, but unfortunately you're at an age where children like to mingle. Stay within my sight and only talk to the factions if you have to, minor families only. She told him the idea as Naruto really enjoyed his mother's political side. It reminded him of Jonin back home. Yes, mother. Is there anything else I should be aware of? Some girls would lure you with them crying in pain. Let the others in the group do it. Never make the first move, someone's coming, until you see a white-haired woman at my side, don't interrupt. She finished, turning with a masterful smile. Ah, Lord Mikols, how are you? She bowed her head kindly as the man gave a perverted smirk at her while taking her hand to kiss it. Naruto would have sent a glare. That is if the almost molten level of heat his mother was sending to the man wasn't making Naruto worried about her. How lovely to see you, Lady Guinevere. Mikols smiled rather charmingly at the woman. The woman, though, in her mind, was absolutely disgusted. But she knew she had to keep up her appearance, if only for her son's sake. The man gave a notable glare at Naruto until he saw the child's necklace, which was adorned with the symbol of the Harmonia family. Oh, are you married now? He said as Naruto smirked while walking away. Use me as an heir and get some men off her back, I can learn from her. Naruto mused as he walked away, leaving him with his mother to easily push the man to a corner with her words alone. Walking too, near children but a way to easily miss them as he can feign ignorance. Jeremiah was right about one thing. Be wary of women. Women hold the most power here than men, so that means they are looking for husbands. Sadly, most of the females are lacking common compassion in their lives. Most of them marry men who are meek and cannot raise their objections to their wives, knowing their spouse holds more power. So they basically get cuckolded by the wives, having subhuman species to be their lovers. Naruto's eyes almost turned red at the mention of that, subhuman slaves. I hope he stopped as he saw a girl approaching him. A girl with dirty blonde hair with a hairstyle that had 2 braids done in loops. Shit, he made eye contact when he was lost in thought. He bowed his body politely. Honor to meet you, he started as the girl appreciated his conduct. The girl did a small courtesy to him. Stephanie Fu Offrey, she said, and suddenly spoke. As she did, Naruto barely listened and only took a moment to think. Offrey? Why does that sound familiar? Wasn't that from a Gundam series? Naruto said before the girl laughed behind her hand. You're quite the gentleman for letting me speak, she said before making her index and middle finger playfully walk on Naruto's arm. Perhaps we can ask our parents too. Lord Naruto, Jeremiah said, cutting the 2 children off. Thank God it was Jeremiah to the rescue. Stephanie gave the man a clear visible glare until she saw his face. Paling as she knew who this man was. The Amber Knight of the Harmonia family, she merely nodded her head. Your mother wishes to show ahem, allow the queen to see you. Come along, he said as the 2 walked slowly. He turned his head to the side to whisper. Good thing I came. I know it's your first time, so I can excuse the mistake. But that girl is dangerous, as her family is working against the faction your mother is secretly hoping would win. Naruto gave a shocked look. Having opinions on certain factions is fine, as everyone in the family does. As a joke, for betting, but his mother must think the faction she likes must be good to hope they will win over the others. Sorry, sir. The teal-haired knight gave a soft smile. Though Naruto couldn't see, grow and learn from this, it's all I ask. He said as the man took Naruto to the royalty family area, where only the highest nobles and influential people could be approached. He soon saw his mother giggle with another woman who caught his eye. For the rare times in his 3 lives, he blushed softly at the beauty that he was seeing. She was a woman with blue irises and slightly drooping eyes that conveyed a gentle appearance. Her platinum blonde long hair was like threads of silver and had a glamorous figure but left a gentle and tender impression. She had woman-like features and a slim waist, and also wore a dress that was fastened to her waist and went up to her ankles, emphasizing the outline of her body. Lovely, he said absent-mindedly as Jeremiah and the others seemed to hear him as his mother looked shocked, before letting a few soft chuckles out from her lips. Oh my, someone is quite smitten. Guinevere giggled, causing Naruto to snap out of it. What? Naruto's red face became more bright as he looked at the ground, feeling shy all of a sudden. My apologies, your highness, he said, bending his knee to give a knightly aura to his country's ruler. The queen gave a soft look of surprise before smiling sweetly. Please, raise your head. There is no need to apologize. The queen looked at his mother as Naruto stood from his spot, Your son did the same thing your father did. Bowing his head even before properly speaking to the queen, she smiled kindly at the Harmonia matriarch before turning her back to the child. You're going to have a bright future. Thank you, your highness, but your praise need not be wasted on me. Naruto bowed to her. But imagine my surprise, the queen lifted her hand to cover a smile. The fact you had a child in your arm. I was afraid you were married to someone to procreate. Only to see he's adopted. I never saw such a kind gaze in nobility. She giggled as Harmonia's nose seemed to lengthen out at the pride she felt. Mother, I request to. Naruto turned his head to see a child his age. He had white-colored suit and dozens of girls fawning from the side. His short dark cobalt-colored hair reminded Naruto who he was. Prince Julius Rafa Holfert, the hardest to conquer target and the strongest knight of the harem, which didn't do shit in the fighting portion. Oh boy, looks like I won't be able to talk my way out of this one. Naruto thought to himself wearily. The boy looked at Naruto, bowing politely. He spoke soon after, my name is. Naruto tuned out the other child's voice, and quickly remembers Julius's likes and smirk. Man. He started after Julius made his introduction. High society makes one bored at the laid out path you have, right? The adults look annoyed at Naruto while Julius looks wide-eyed before smiling gently. It is, I'm sure you're already aware of that. The young hated his life a prince falling for the heroine when they met and soon enjoyed outside dates in the city and being normal. To be his friend he has to have the same interest. Naruto Harmonia and will be the country's greatest adventurer. He promised as Julius seemed excited at the sound of adventure. Adventurer, huh? Naruto mused and thought. HM. It seems the kids are getting along. An aging man said walking behind the queen and Guinevere. The mother of Naruto in an unnoble gesture nudges his stomach. Oi, watch it Vinny. My son will not be part of the Redgrave family, which you tried to do with me and Gil. She said as the man gave a look that was a mix of a guilty and slightly amusing look. Not gonna make me join you, Tilda. The man could only give a sheepish chuckle. Right, of course. Redgrave? Naruto said as he looked away from Julius to see the man, but the name made him. That's the current head of the Redgrave family, Gilbert Redgrave. The blue-haired boy said stoically, actually his youngest daughter is my fiancée. Oh. Naruto looked behind the aging man to see a girl their age dutifully staying silent, Angelica. Naruto whispers seeing the evil, cruel, shy face of, she's not evil. He slowly concluded as the girl walked up to them and bowed with obvious stiffness. My name is Angelica Rafa Redgrave. I am Crown Prince Julius's future wife. And swore an ally to your family, the Harmonia family. She spoke with her face turning red at the end, no doubt pushing her shyness to show her serious side for her role. Naruto blinked in surprise. He didn't expect Angelica of all people to be this way. Snapping out of his thoughts, he cleared his throat and took a moment to speak. Honored to meet you too, he said awkwardly, definitely not prepared to see the villainess being so different. Ahem, the pleasure is all mine. He bowed back to her slightly. Soon the adults pulled their children away as other families wished the queen and her son well. This made Naruto bite his thumbnail in annoyance. Julius was something I knew he would be, but Angelica wasn't at all like I remember. Did something happen to her past to make her like this? He quickly remembered any information. The only thing he could remember was how she got screwed, because of him. We did steal her fiancé, and later got her hated by the school. Naruto is dumbfounded as he realizes her reasons. The blonde boy felt a migraine seeping into his head. Some no-name commoner comes up and befriends her crush. Then she notices he starts to spend his time with her, neglecting Angelica. He thought to himself, "Dear Lord, I'm a homewrecker." He said with a shout that if his mother and Jeremiah didn't cover his mouth in time. I'm the asshole who made her a crazy vindictive chick. What was that? The queen tilted her head in confusion. Is something wrong? I apologize to your highness, but my son has a tendency to, Guinevere began, trying to come up with a good excuse on the spot. Sorry, Naruto started before pointing to the queen's dress. I wanted to let you know, that lady spilled sauce on your dress. He pointed dramatically to show everyone what he said was true. Soon the queen turned red at the embarrassment and the paling look at the noble who caused it. Nice Tilda. Both adults next to Naruto said as the blonde boy sighed as he had another ally to make, as it was kinda his fault she suffers in the end. He had to make a perfect ending, for his mother and their home's sake. 3 months later, Naruto was covered in grease spots as he worked on his family's giant machines, or gears as they are called, from the tips of his hair to the sole of his feet. It was a dirty job, but it was an honest one at the same time. If he weren't a noble, he would have been handsomely compensated for his hard work. Amazing, Jeremiah, along with a white-haired girl walking next to him, said, astonished at the sight. My old gear was declared to be unrepairable, and look, in barely a month after you got your license to work on gears, you're able to fix even the most impossible tasks. Naruto gave a small smirk at the praise, flipping the wrench to catch it easily. It's nothing to really brag about. He smirked. It's all about figuring out what works and what doesn't. Besides, back home I was going into robotics, so advanced techniques on cleaning and critical thinking helps a lot. He mumbled, knowing the other two couldn't hear him. Anyway, it's not a problem, as it's my task as an heir to work on my own machines and not let others. The man nodded as he crossed his arms. Lady Harmonia is calling for you. It's time, young lord, for her to show you the regalia of your household. I understand, Naruto nodded, before looking at his watch. Alright, let me bathe real quick and I'll be there as soon as possible. Quickly cleansing his body, the young saw his mother in the room of the head of the family, filled with books and a grand desk for paperwork. There she was, smiling as she filled a piece of paper, sighing with relief. At least that is complete. Looking up, she quickly hid the paper inside her drawer. My son, as you know, why you are here is something that usually takes years to accomplish. I, myself, was only able to earn my heir of the household in 2 years to attain my true official status as the head of the Harmonia bloodline. Walking up to him, the woman gently held him with a pride look. Just 3 months you were able to dash any problem you were given. And now we shall gift you the knowledge of the family we keep secret. She started as Naruto didn't talk, knowing it was a sacred thing in their family, but he still followed her when she pulled him to her desk, showing a small level that was underneath it. Please pull it. She ordered as the young man did what she said and pulled the item. He heard a loud, clinking sound and saw the desk move back suddenly, showing a rather futuristic platform. The woman beside him had no problem walking top of it, and soon Naruto followed suit. A long moment passed as the platform soon sank into the ground as Naruto looked up to see the desk covering their way back. He narrowed his eyes when bright lights came online to help them show they weren't going in blind. Mother, where are we going? Naruto couldn't help but ask, as his eyes adjusted to the light. The woman let out a mirthful chuckle. To be honest, I'm still not sure there's an answer to that question. My family defended this floating island and city for one reason. The first member of my family, a man not even having the name of Harmonia, is the reason this place exists. Generations of my family swore into oaths to never reveal this to the country or even the king and queens, even if it benefits us. She sadly declared as the young man seemed more worried at the tone she gave. Looking forward, the platform stopped moving down and proceeded to move forward. What can this be? A weapon? He asked as Guinevere shook her head at the idea. A lost item, she said as Naruto's eyes nearly popped out from their sockets at the casual way she said that, as if the idea was as mundane as stating the weather above them. Though having the same item in your home for generations could make it sound dull, considering she lived with that secret for years. Lost items are basically the cheat items he got from the game real money transactions, items that make the game easy. If he has one now, he can easily get more of a head start on his planets to protect his country and save this world from the impending war. The young man nearly face planted at the sudden cease of movement, telling them they have entered the area his mother wanted to show him. Password required. A mechanical voice echoed outward as the Baroness moved towards it. My name is Guinevere Harmonia, my password is Project G. She shouted as the wall in front of them opened up as the two walked forward to see a gigantic hangar that you see in the military for gears. But what Naruto's eyes saw caused his blood to run cold and stop. The woman smiled as she saw hundreds of her family's machines. It was something that she hoped Naruto would appreciate. Despite the numbers, none of our family couldn't pilot them due to the controls are complete different in Naruto. She shouted as the young man vaulted over the railings and reached the ground without harm. Wait, stop, I know they are interesting, but you could get hurt. Naruto felt his body go numb and his head feeling light. There was just no way, it was impossible. For all intents and purposes, this shouldn't be here of all places. But why? It can't be. Naruto barely whispered out. walking towards the only machine that was practically falling apart, not even registering his mother's words as he saw it more closely. Everything about this machine was destroyed, for a lack of a better term. It was gunmetal gray, as some of it had oxidized and rusted. Only the chest armor, the head, and one limb of an arm were present in this machine. The head itself looked samurai-like, with the Kabuto helmet-esque piece as a V antennae rested on top of its forehead. The eyes were a dull yellow and its mouth was covered by a mask piece. The torso was blocky with the vents rectangular, similar to that of a jet, and one of its arms was rectangular in shape as well, but its digits looked like a functional hand. The young knew what this was, the prototype of the very thing that made him want to get into robotics in his previous life. He spent lots of his money to learn more and enjoy it greatly with his siblings. A small tear rolled down his cheek as he felt happy. Happy to get something he wanted in his previous life. Walking up to its decaying and rust-colored side, he saw the engraving, RX 78-1. You can read those scriptures? Naruto can hear his mother's voice, astonished at the sight of Naruto easily figuring out what they were. Is that the name of this machine? The blonde child didn't help but chuckled. A soft shake of his head told his mother that it was wrong. That's its identification number, but it does have a name. It's the first of its kind, the prototype to create the most powerful weapon. It's been a full 2 weeks since Naruto, age 12, was given the news of the Gundam in his basement. And during those 2 weeks he has been down here save for meals, forced meetings with other nobility. The young chuckled as he started to dismantle some wires and electronics from the machines. Wow, this stuff looks like it was from my year when I was sent here. He noted the amazing performances they had when comparing some of the other, regular, wires and things made to make the other machines. The Gundams seemed to be sturdier and oddly more handcrafted than he originally thought. The attention to detail was spot on. Damn, the problem is the fact none of these are Gundanium metals. He said, looking at a jury-rig computer he made from ripping the GMs that were around. No one really liked those anyway. The fact he was able to make one was already impressive in of itself. His talent of handcrafting was second to none, and he'll be damned if he catches an imperfection. Then again, he made his sister gamer PCs from scratch and on a strict budget due to the fact she left him alone when he needed to work on his own hobbies on making stuff. Thankfully, Gundams have the most advanced computer parts to pilot the damn hunk of metal. Hacking into the prototype, he was able to get the specs pretty well enough. None of these are close to the canon stats of the originals. The prototype was the only one that had a pretty unique metal alloy that seemed to take a lot of abuse before going down. Lastly, the beam weapons were just able to work before something happened to cause them to sputter out every time it was attempted to turn on. Only crackles of plasma and electricity sputter from the emitter. The main issue before anything was that no power source was able to make the Gundams move as efficiently. When testing one, lifting a leg took almost 5 minutes more than one. The lack of power is making them more like bulky tanks than powerful war machines. Not much of a weapon if he can't take any enemies down later in the war. So there was only one thing he could do to salvage it. The idea of scrapping these things for future Gundam was a good idea, but until he can figure out the flaws, these things are just taking space. Well, the GMs are, since they're not as. Master? Naruto turns his head to see a Gainsborough, very light gray-haired girl at the age of 13 coming from behind him. She has dark blue eyes, pale light skin, and is wearing a maid outfit, while her hair is on the shorter side with a pair of wolf ears on her head. She is holding a silver tray of breakfast pastries, tea, coffees, and omelette. "Oh Rhoda," he said, smiling as the girl placed the food next to him as he was sitting on the cold steel floor. She then followed suit as she took a seat next to him. "Here." He passed her a chocolate chip muffin as the girl immediately bit into it. He chuckled, knowing she still was many ways feral when it came to food. The girl looked up and nodded meekly at his kind gesture, using her hand to wipe off any crumbs from her face. "Thank you," she mumbled before devouring the rest fast as before. "So what brings you here today, besides the obvious?" Naruto asked, as he continued to hack into the Gundam hidden information, trying his best to use these things somehow in the upcoming events. "Your mother has been worried ever since letting you see this, that you might be." The girl paused, looking over to the impression destruction of metal plates and metallic limbs in a giant pile nearby a crippled-looking machine. "Obsessed," she explained as the young woman deadpanned from the sight. "Me? I'm not obsessed. Naruto waved off. Passionate maybe, but not obsessed. Agreed, so I lied and said you were just taking time to figure out the injin? She said with a clear indication of the last word being butchered. The girl came from a rural homeland, barely any civilization compared to other nations and kingdoms. So the sights of these Gundams used to make her afraid, worried they might attack her in her unguarded moments. You mean engine? Yes, master. Rhoda nodded, no doubt keeping her best to learn as much as she can to prevent looking an idiot compared to more civilized slaves. Noticing the computer, the girl's curiosity piqued when seeing a blueprint of a machine similar to the others yet drastically changed in armor. What's this? Thinking of a head of possible Gundams to bring, Naruto said before showing a 25 by 25 file of names. Each one has their own unique use, but it's mostly up in the air. He murmured as the girl nodded, clearly not understanding the resting, but the idea of having many does sounds appealing. That's a lot to choose from. Rhoda commented. Will you be using all of them? Naruto shook his head as he returned the screen to a black screen with other white lines she hadn't seen, and then saw Naruto's rapid finger movements gracefully flying to each little gray square, making an odd yet satisfying clicking noise. No, hopefully 5 or 8 are just needed, but down the line I might have to share 5, maybe 7 of them. 8, if you want one, Rhoda. He offered as the girl merely shook her head, feeling scared at the idea of being locked away forever in a metal tomb. Naruto chuckled as he felt the same when thinking of actually piloting one. The cockpit was kinda scary being sealed away in a machine for war. The young man took time to stop as he grabbed an odd device the girl hadn't seen before. One little click and she jumped as someone she never heard came from it. I see your love, reflection. She heard a woman gently singing as her master gently rocked his head back and forth from this odd singing, and also music she heard as well. What is that? She said, moving closer to hear what Naruto item was projecting. Headphones, they record music. He said, smiling at this small little comfort from home. Can I listen? Rhoda asked, oddly interested in the device, picking it up with her hands to bring it closer to her face to hear more clearly. Of course, go ahead. Naruto nodded, watching her intently stare at it, but didn't want to advise her. The fact she was so focused made it easier for him to think on the subject he had earlier. The 2 weeks were rather a blur, considering he was mostly here and with no sun or sky to guide him on the time. He was thankful there was a bed and bathroom for him to use, skipping wasted time to get from his home, and here was saved for those small conveniences. He told his mother he could read the ancient script, but it was basic Japanese and some English words he already knew how to pronounce. It was a rare skill, they said, to use something like this, and he capitalized it by pretending he could try to understand the problem to them, until karma came around and bit his ass. It wasn't like he was not going to tell his mom the truth, but had to make sure there weren't any Gundams strapped with nukes on them first of all. When he somehow was able to figure out how to turn on a Gundam, that's when things went downhill. Unable to get the password right, most of the GMs were locked out and were forced shut down. The maybe prototype Gundam were easier to unlock. Learning bit by bit about the info he could collect slowly dashed any dreams of him using these in real combat anytime soon. The young can easily restore them, and with the notes on how to properly maintain these things and remake the metal alloy without problems. But cost and raw materials was one thing. If he had his own private island where he can mine them is one thing, but his mother would need to invest in that. It was a good idea, but he had to make sure the other problems were dealt with first. No sense in wasting money for an idea to never be completed. But he can at least ensure a good income at the attempt. Not many places in his country that one can leisurely relax. Well, for commoners, as most nobles are always lazy. Still, raw resources weren't cheap, especially as noble. Unless he took a faction side, he was going to be given the full price. The queen and king cannot help due to favoritism, which would cause people to aim their hostility at him and his family. He had to play it smart on how to get his materials for his Gundams. The metal left over is a good start, but to make better ones done the road is going to require a lot of experimenting. He turning to see Rhoda slowly nodding her head to the song was a cute sight. Naruto never seen her with such an unguarded look before. She is a recent addition to his family, or rather to his service. The young man found her and helped her in her almost dying state. Even when saving her life she was very cautious, if not realizing she was in the home of a noble. This would make her unable to do anything like harm him without getting sent to prison, assuming they didn't just hang her immediately. I see your reflection? The silver-haired girl mumbled, slowly memorizing the song as Naruto typed into his computer on some notes for the future. If he remembers right, later on even a couple of Zakus were able to beat most of the enemies and events of the game when he played in his old life. This would make some of the Gundams he has able to outpace nearly anything they had, even when practicing against the 5 male targets, in order to get more affection points if you won. Char's custom red Zaku was able to tear up Chris, who was the best in fighting at close range, with only a superheated machete without problems. If the prototype was scaled to the original Gundam, Naruto had to realistically place it around half or 3/4 as good as OG Gundam. Therefore, if he fought the canon machines that will be given to the prince and his entourage would be at even levels, maybe Naruto will have a good edge. But later on, even against certain bosses and events, Naruto had to use bigger and badder Gundams like Heavy Arms Gundam Kai, or even Gundam Striker to keep up. Not to mention the secret super bosses were a special hell for him, as he had to use his heavily customized and unbeatable Gundams to sneak absolute wins. So at the moment he might have the edge, he can try to reach even higher than before. Nothing will be set in stone, and he has to make sure to keep his victory all but assured. Still, the fact he was able to get a head start on the battle preparations, even if it's just laying the groundwork to utilize them into other machines, means that he's like, what? 75% the way done? The last quarter was to make sure to befriend the 5 male targets, get one of them to get close to Olivia and get her to be known as the Saint. He didn't like the idea of using someone to get military power or make people listen to her, but the way the country banded together under her title made the final levels easier to deal with, lots of buffs and opportunities. So he had to befriend her too. It made him sick of the idea of using a pure girl like that. Olivia wanted a normal life, and he is going to take that away for the guarantee of the safety of his nation. But he will do it so his family, people, and future friends and allies will be safe, including her as well. He met Julius, and the few times they had met were great moments on Naruto's part. Helping him sneak out of the castle and sneak right back without problems, thus making Julius see Naruto as someone to rely on for the outside world. Listening to his annoyance on how the noble life isn't for him and it kills his happiness to be who wished to be. The blonde could understand that feeling, being robbed to be anything but the Kyuubi brat when in his first life as a shinobi. But the boy had a better start than anyone. He had a family, money and food that most commoners don't even have themselves. He wished he could say the brat was selfish, but he was a kid who was forced to do what didn't want, so he let the kid whine and complain, knowing it would lead him to help Naruto and their home. Angelica was a different story. She was still sending him curveballs like crazy. She was kind, offering him food when she visited him, asking him about his day more than her own, not at all like the other rich brats who are trying to make him date them. She doesn't try to fake injury when he touches them, make him right. Oh god, that last chick was crafty. Flashback. Naruto smiled as he helped a young girl up. "Ha, your sister is quite the klutz," he said as the young girl gave him a piece of paper. "Can you show me how to write your name? I want to send you a proper letter of appreciation," she asked as Naruto took the paper, before his eyes shot wide open when he saw the words, marriage, lovers on the side, and wallet. He shakily looked at the cold, emotionless eyes of the younger sister. MMMMMH. With a single move he easily ripped the paper in half with his bare hands. Flashback end. And that was a damn close one too. Naruto muttered to himself as he shuddered from the memory. He came that close to being married off to some stranger he doesn't know. But looking back, that was a bit overly dramatic, but no point in crying over spilt milk. He chuckled at the two girls no longer seeing him from that odd event. He stood up and jumped down the floor, to see the only Gundam able to operate without too much trouble. It's his version of a prototype Gundam crossed with a Gundam Pixie, speed to make up for the bad movements it has. The statistics seem to blend well, but this will be his ace in the hole and a good way to start piloting his future Gundams. But that being said, I'll have to ask Mother about this, Naruto said to himself. While the current hangar is all well and good, it was still on the small side. He needed more room if he was to work on several other projects for this big one. To experiment he needed at least 3 hangars, one for his custom Gundams, one to hide the materials, and a mobile base to keep his best on hand. This hangar can be for the second idea, but if he does get an island he would have to do a lot of work to make an underground base, as he would have it similar to the bases in Gundam lore. The last is going to be a hassle, Realistically, the best mobile bases would be the ones in Seed, 00, or even the famous White Base. But he highly doubted any of the biggest vessels would be as strong or powerful as them. So the third base will have to be a pipe dream for now. I'll have to be reasonable with my requests, and be financially smart about it too. Naruto added, every step until that first day at school will all be calculated and perfectly made to do this. He needed to be careful. Unlike home, he couldn't just hit the power button and redo it. What was it the anime character he saw said? Thoughts can turn into reality. If he didn't think ahead, then all those bad ends would be the least of his problems. Back then it ended there, black screen and all, but now that he's part of the world, he highly doubts that it's going to be a black screen. He was in war in his first life, and knew some horrible things in his second life. It's not going to be the third time that this happens. He is going to change all of that. And it starts. Naruto. The blonde young child looked up to see Jeremiah and his mother above the railings with Rhoda, who had the headphones on her head instead of holding it in front of her. Hey guys. He waved as the woman looked at the sudden changes from the time she was here last. You only have a few of our family's lost items left? She asked as the young man nodded. The blonde pointed at his newest Gundam. I had to. Most of the stuff was broken and couldn't be fixed. I didn't ditch them or toss them over the island. Not to mention the whole power problem I told you before doing this. He reminded the woman, who nodded to his explanation for doing this. Good news, we do have the blueprints, not including mine. Naruto whispered that last part so only he could hear. But we can easily reproduce the armor they made for these lost items. He said, knowing the word Gundam wouldn't be right to say considering the world. So I see. The woman pondered and thought. A soft smile came to her face. Good thing that you're the heir after all. You made sure to tell me and went through with it. She chuckled with a wicked smile. That's my kid. Haha. Naruto gave a small laugh back at his mother, who her knight couldn't help but join in. Oh yeah, yo Jeremiah. Naruto pointed to the machine. When I'm not here and in case of emergency you're going to pilot this. He turned to think of the name and shrugged. Faye Gundam. Faye Gundam? Jeremiah blinked at the name. It was certainly an odd choice for a name. It's another name for Pixie, Naruto explained before tossing him a small scroll. That's the controls. I'd recommend reading before you go to bed. It's user-friendly. I mean, it's pretty straightforward compared to the other machines the kingdom has. The blonde sweat dropped as he had to ask who would need so many buttons and things just to pilot. Thank God the people who made the Gundam also understood the old saying of less is more, and made a pretty compact but simple piloting system. Very well then. I shall study it to the last detail. Jeremiah nodded at the boy. Naruto cracked his neck as he jumped at the railing staircase, and pulled himself up to get on the same level as them. But seriously, what's up? It's not like you two to come here for a talk. He said, looking at his personal calendar to see none of the days to come up, and I haven't been here for too long to warrant a warning. He joked half-heartedly, remembering the woman literally picked him up in mid-calculation and tied him to the dinner table when skipping 2 days of eating. Yes, well, I needed to speak to you about something. His mother answered. About what? Naruto inquired of the older woman, losing his earlier causal mood as the woman clapped her hands and bowed. The prayer gesture that he taught her recently. Ooh, must be bad for you to do that. The queen is bugging me to let you play with Julius, she said in a defeated tone as Naruto shrugged, making sense as he was the only friend Julius trusted honestly. So that would mean he would like to hang out with him more, and sadly Angelica would also like to meet you too, considering you're his friend now and would like to be on better terms with you too. Naruto sighed at this. Of course there was always the silver lining to these kinds of things. How long do I have until they arrive? Thankfully, I was able to hold it off until this afternoon, Harmonia said as the young man wryly smiled at that small blessing. Okay, that should be plenty of time for me. Naruto nodded to his mother as she looked at the machine with a soft smile. He really is the best hope for the country I love with all my heart. She coughed into her hand as she felt her chest hurting a bit. Well, I need to do some work on our family affairs. Do have fun and try not to get into marriages. She waved off as she and Jeremiah left the area with Rhoda looking at her oddly. It was certainly a strange thing to say to her son, at least to her it was. Alright. Naruto turned his attention back to the Gundam as he cracked his knuckles. What to do with you now? He said to himself. Shouldn't you stop for now? Rhoda asked her master as she passed his device, watching him put the headphones on his ears. You don't have to spend every second on this weapon. The young eyes closed as a melancholy smile graced his face. If only, if only. He muttered, thinking he was quiet enough to not let her catch what he said, only for the girl to give him a look of pity. I hate airships, Naruto mumbled, almost reaching his location as Rhoda was next to him, slightly irritated due to her not being used to being on one. This is really boring, he said, wishing to work on his mobile suits. I don't want to be here. Rhoda pouted, crossing her arms as she looked out the window of the airships while watching the clouds pass by them. She prayed that the ride would be done. Naruto took a moment to think on who to befriend next. Julius was done, so that left 4 men to track. One is Chris, the son of the master swordsman, one of the optional bosses you can face, which was pretty hard considering he had no Gundams to help on a normal fighting session. The dude was stoic, as they came only gaining affection when the player gave him backhanded compliments or trained as hard as him. Next was Brad, a typical bro meathead idiot, so complicated his skills and being aggressive was the way to go. The next guy was Greg, the magical ace of the team. Easiest to capture given his rather arrogant and self-absorbed views on himself. Lastly was Jilk, the foster brother of Julius, the one that was overly cautious to the player who was careful around the protagonist. Earning his trust was to make sure to keep the prince happy. I hope we land very soon. Because I don't think I'll be able to stand these guys for the next 5 minutes. Naruto thought to himself as he tried to contain his annoyance, but found it very difficult. Naruto, we just arrived, Jeremiah said as the airship buckled a bit as it stayed in place. Lady Angelica and her betrothed will be there to greet you. I need to be there for your mother and will return for you in a bit. So please try and behave yourself. Yes, Jeremiah. Naruto sighed to himself. At the least the flight won't be for much longer. The 2 children walked off the airship waving the crew goodbye to see Angelica wearing a fancy red dress and Julius, who wore a suit, to his displeasure by the clear look on his face. But he saw a green-haired boy also next to them, Naruto. Julius waved kindly to his new friend as he and Angelica rushed to him. Sorry, I heard your mother wasn't alright to send you here. No, it's fine. Naruto trailed off hesitantly, waving to him weakly. Angelica noticed the girl standing next to Naruto. Is this your maid? I'm his slave. Rhoda bowed her head as the young man looked at the shock on both children. Angelica and Julius both voiced out. Even the new green-haired boy seemed to be shocked from this announcement. There is the rare chance for a male noble to also have his own lover, being a beast or female elf. Naruto looked at Rhoda. She was technically older than him given her height and unusual way of talking, being mature than most races at her age should be. Of course he hired her for one reason, and was to have an ally that wouldn't be a yes man, someone willing to call him an idiot or understand his more outlandish ideas. No, she's just a friend, I kinda am responsible for her now, kinda. Naruto sighed, waving their concerns offhandedly. Trust me, my mother even gave me an earful on treating her right. He lied as the woman knew he was a kind soul and only reminded him to ask for help on Rhoda if needed. I see, Julius said, before clearing his throat to shake off the awkwardness. Brother, is this the boy? The green-haired teen said as Naruto looked at the teen before sighing mentally. And so there is the one who will think I'm a problem. The young reincarnated child realized this was Jilk, the second strongest of the harem 5. He already was giving Naruto a cautious look as the brother nodded. Yes, this is Naruto who helped me get into the MMH. Shut up, you idiot, Naruto growled with a thick accent to prevent any of the staff thinking he insulted the prince. You think getting out was hard? Try it when literally saying out in the open. He whispered to make sure Angie didn't hear what he said. While she was a better person than what he remembers, he wasn't so sure to trust her with the fact he was breaking the prince out of the castle to get commoners food and snacks on his downtime. Help you? The girl in question cutely tilted her head as Naruto waved his arms comically. Help his studies? He was confused about robotics, I mean framework, so I had to explain it. He said as the girl looked at him with starry eyes. She heard Naruto was the youngest to get a license to work on machines, but to hear the prince being taught by him made her thankful and saw Naruto more and more as a hero. So I see. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Angelica smiled brightly. The group followed Jilk as they looked around. Wait, this isn't near the capital? Naruto mentioned as he realized what was happening. Where are we? Rhoda took a moment to sniff the air. We're down near the east. Naruto looked at his hand as a compass was summoned into it. Huh, she's right, he muttered as Angelica giggled. You guys are weird. No, we're here to say hi to Jilk's fiancé, she declared as Naruto took a moment to think what she said. Alright, Naruto absent-mindedly spoke, remembering a lovely proper girl who Jilk was going to marry. After formally breaking her heart in their marriage, she gave her blessings to the protagonist to be with her former lover. Soon they arrived to see the whole staff and family of the girl were out and bowed to the prince and his friends. Will not get used to this, he muttered, weirded by odd things that Julius brought when hanging out with him. Soon they saw a girl walking towards them wearing a white summer dress with green frills. Jilk. Oh? She looked at the others who were behind them. Oh hello, my name is Clarice Fia Atlee. Naruto Fu Harmonia. He smiled kindly at her as the others introduced themselves, soon having to once again explain Rhoda's situation when she introduced herself and her status. The group were in the Clarice home as they were at a tea party, Naruto mostly making small talk as he eyed the field outside. What's with the track field out there? Clarice looked confused at what he meant before realizing what he meant. Oh yes, my family have been developing airbikes, it's our own personal practice course. You race? Naruto raised an eyebrow. The girl shook her head as she waved it off. No. Nothing like that. I want to. Lady Clarice lets me help with piloting the newer models. I rather like using them and she learns where to improve them, Jilk said in an almost well-to-practice tone. Naruto felt like the teen was just there, not really caring about anyone that concerned him. It was one thing to be forced to do things, but if he hurt someone, that was a different story altogether. And, you do this often? Naruto inquired. Yes, my brother comes here to establish a good relationship with his fiancée, Julius said, patting his brother on his shoulder who seemed to take the compliment well. This is awkward. Naruto sighed inwardly at this. If these were usual friends back at his first life, they would talk about missions and random stuff in the village. His second life friends were all sports and anime. What do rich kids like to talk about? Julius likes being free. Angie, still up for debate. Clarice seems kinda shy and Jilk, is well Jilk. I shouldn't have come here, he added to himself. What do you all have planned for your futures? Rhoda suddenly asked as the other looked surprised at the slave's question. My master wants to be useful for the empire, therefore to Prince Julius one day. Is that so? Jilk raised an eyebrow, turning his attention to Naruto, who suddenly felt unnerved from his stare. It wasn't a stare of worry but rather one of planning, but Naruto gave a weak smile to Rhoda. He didn't tell her of his plans, but she knew from instinct Naruto needed to be on the green-haired boy's good side. Well, I do plan to be a knight and one the greatest pilot the world has ever seen, he said as the others looked excited at that dream. All nobility, as his mother told him, loved the idea of grand adventures or seeking to be the best. I think that's a wonderful dream to strive for. Angelica nodded with approval. Julius looked excited as he slammed his hands. The upcoming tournament, he said as everyone looked at him. Jilk looked rather interested while Angelica and Clarice seemed to be worried. Now it was Naruto's turn to have his eyebrow raised. I'm sorry? There's a tournament every 3 years. It's usual where one can earn a lot of money but first place gets you a prototype frame, he said as Naruto now also seems to have his interest peak. Oh? What kind of prototype frame? Clarice looked at Naruto. Usually the new line of mass-produced models that most nobles get. But to have the newest for free in a few months or even years can give you an edge over battles, she said as her family often help produce those machines along with airbikes when they are requested to. Naruto pondered on this. That was something definitely worth looking into. It could help improve on his prototype Gundam. Even if they are below Zaku standards, new parts could help with fixing the leftover problems of his prototype and from there make all of his Gundams for the upcoming wars. He looked at the prince with a smirk. When is it? He asked as the prince leaned in, no doubt wanting to get on this. 2 weeks, he said as Angie stood up. My prince, that's not a good idea. While there's no real age limit, you can't let Naruto join. It's very dangerous, she said as the prince seemed to be annoyed with her words, but sat down remembering that truth. Hold on, I want to hear this, Naruto said. But, Naruto gave the girl a kind smile. Ange, I know you mean well but I gotta know this, for everyone's sake, he declared softly as he only knew what he really meant by those words. He didn't want the girl to lose her happiness when he screwed her out of her life, taking her lover and making her live with a husband who she hated. It wasn't right and will not let her suffer at the hands of fate. The girl blushed at the words he said, and the nickname he gave her that not even the prince had yet. Why, you're right. She nodded to the prince, who for the first time since Naruto met him, smiled at Angelica for this. So the tournament is in two divisions, frame battles or one-on-one fights. I suggest the one-on-one fights. Both noble and commoners alike enter it, and the winner of that earns a frame prototype. He said as Naruto nodded to his words but was going to raise a hand until Julius spoke again. The reason there's two divisions is that frame tournaments are usually for honor rather than the prize, so it's better to have a better chance. But it can. Naruto grinned widely as he lifted his arm to show a clenched fist. Hey, I promise you that I will win in spades. He swore as he had 2 lifetimes of fighting experience. No way no one was going to get the drop on him in this tournament. Soon they started to talk in depth on what to do for that time. Even Angie was excited to sneak out to join them, as did Jilk and Clarice. Naruto smiled as he felt he had made them trust him but also gained some new friends. The plan was going well, but at the same time, he felt good about what he was doing. Nothing will stop it. A few days after that part, Naruto worked twice as hard on his Gundam. Unable to get the original prototype to move as fast, or as it's supposed to be, in all that time. Power? Naruto mumbled that even using the massive amounts of mana stones usually used to power airships weren't a good replacement. What could I do to give it more power? Naruto pondered to himself as he typed on the keyboard to pull up more schematics that popped up on his screen. Still nothing? Rhoda came down with a tray of fruits. The blonde shook his head, taking a mango from the plate. Still. He answered pathetically as he turned his thoughts on different power sources. Electricity would be a good source, as many Gundams use that with some other factors to keep it working, but the only way to get enough is to build a generator. Despite his good work on dismantling machines, it wasn't enough for making power supplies. The other ideas were canon to Gundam, but with the way magic is going to keep technology from its highest potential meant no particles or even GN drives. I need a new area to think about this. Naruto said, now ready to leave this idea for another time. No matter what he did at this given moment, there was no way to move forward. Best he can do is produce a laptop and work on the idea whenever he can. But the other 99% of the time means other work he can be doing. Standing up, he tossed the mango up as he was going to do the thing he never did in both his lives. Beg Mom to buy me something, he said, taking a bite from the fruit, and smirked. Man, that's a bittersweet taste. The young man chuckled at the idea of doing something childish. This is going to be fun. Rhoda whispered, following Naruto out of the bunker hangar as they reached his mother's office, who was reading in the corner on a rather comfy chair. The silver-haired girl looked at Naruto, who seemed obviously embarrassed at the words he would ask. Mother? He asked as the woman looked happy to be called that but worried given Naruto's look on his face. Did he get into a verbal marriage contract? She asked the wolf girl, who shook her head, and the woman sighed. Naruto, what is it? She said as the blonde sighed louder. I need something from you. Naruto said. I need an island. His mother looked rather flabbergasted. I'm sorry? Did you just say you need an island? She repeated his words as the young man nodded. The woman didn't look angry or her usual comical bubbly self. Gently placing the book down, she stood up straight. Very well, but what is the reason? Guinevere spoke with the regal tone of a leader, while Naruto was her chosen candidate and earned his title as the next head of the family. She had to make sure he made sound choices and not in the heat of the moment. It's for the plan I have. I need to build a resort. Naruto answered her, feeling better to be treated like an adult than asking her as a son or being spoiled for the sake of being spoiled. The idea is that while we make good progress on our neutrality and patriotism, it's not going to win us any money besides what we collect in our city. While we do well most due to smart investments and savings, we can earn more that can be beneficial to the country and to mines. The woman seemed pleased but raised her hand as she leaned back to her chair. Go on, by all means. Naruto nodded as he lifted a finger. So let's speak in hypotheticals. Say that I was forced to fight my son. He said, shocking both women at this idea. Don't worry, it's just an idea, nothing real. Easing their worries, the woman in front of Naruto nodded, therefore allowing him to move on to his explanation. Now this child is like me, smart, fast, and has a secret in his basement. He carefully stretched that last word to make his mother know what he really meant. If that son went rogue with his own secrets, you think I can take him on? The Harmonia matron took a moment to think. I rather not think on that altogether. They say the new generation shall always surpass the old. You've proven that by beating my record for the youngest to earn that heir title. She said with a hard look. Then think about the worst case scenario. Someone else has the same machines we do. Without a safe secondary base to house them and make more, one place bombed or attacked on our land will take us down, and if they got to our hangar. He leaves the words hanging, making the woman's eyes widen for a moment before mastering her face to steel itself again. The Harmonia matriarch narrowed her eyes. Where are you going with this? Hide a tree in a forest. He said with a smirk. Would you look for a possible army inside of a resort meant to pamper people? Naruto asked his mother, who was about to. Well damn, the woman looked stumped as she cupped her chin and looked shocked. That's insane, but no one will look for it. Naruto explained as his mother started to understand. The idea was so stupid that the nobles would never think to actually humor it, let alone stand to hear the absurdity of the possibility. You have a point. The Harmonia matriarch nodded. But that's not all. Keeping a resort makes us able to hide resources that can be used for the machines. Resorts use a ton of materials for upkeep to maintain the buildings and whatever the attractions are. Those materials will be for us for our real plans to make more frames from the old days. It serves as a last stand if we have to destroy ours to delude our enemies thinking we're crippled. The woman smiled gently. You plan even the idea of even destroying our own in case we have to? I would never do that. She said as Naruto worried he said the wrong thing. Very well, this is approved. But the money to have such an island in a short time, not to mention the manpower and additional cost, will be staggering. She closed her eyes as the mental anguish of the amount of bills she has to start calculating was going to kill her head with migraines. I understand. Naruto raised his hand. But I have an idea to get that in 2 weeks. The woman looked shocked as she wondered how he could do that. How much do you need to make for this plan to work? She asked as Naruto sighed. This big? He said, getting out a piece of paper and handing it to his mother. It was a rough draft of how it would be. The woman smiled, thinking the idea of her son working on a general idea was. Oh my, she whispers, eyes rolling the back of her head from the immense details and initial costs of this idea to work, leading to her fainting. So good thing your mother named you the heir. Rhoda started as she poked the unconscious woman. Cause you killed her. The idea was basically twice the place that even their summer island home is at. That was a gift from the kingdom from centuries of hard work. To get that even at the lowest haggling price was insane. But the idea on how to obtain one for free was only the simplest way. Gambling, and he will tell his mother that when she wakes up, hopefully. A few more days passed as the young man took a moment to stop on his progress and smiled. Almost done. He said with a smirk, finally able to make his first laptop after dozens of mistakes and trials about to pay off from this annoying task. His mother, when hearing his plan, laughed at the idea of getting a free island, nearly killed her a second time, but soon allowed it to happen, trusting Naruto's abilities to do so. Gifting him the money that he will need for the day that will be needed for gamble. Worst case scenario, the family loses a big amount of money. Nothing that will toppling their rule of their island, but enough to tell Naruto not to mess up his scheme. The blonde felt that the mother wasn't trying to scare him, but reminded him of the stakes that were up ahead. But at the same time, if something were to happen, she would need him to get ready. Hearing the idea on what he will do to get the island was something insane, and hired an old friend to help the young son of hers succeed. How is it looking? Rhoda asked, coming towards him. No food this time? He chuckled as the girl merely sat on the railing bars when reaching to his side. The girl no longer had to try to pretend to be his maid, or more likely gave up, as Naruto was pretty independent by the time they spent. The only time she had to do was act like one when the other nobles were around. Other than that, she stays in the house and helps with the chores, until that day comes. You never really care for those things, she said stoically as the wolf girl saw Naruto drank liquids that an odd machine he discovered in the hidden room in the hangar. She really disliked them, as many of them were strongly flavored and smelled like meat. Another hurt her throat with bubbly poison that almost made her cry. Yeah, since I got liquid meals thanks to that ration closet, they even have soda. I never thought I could drink an iced cola again. He chuckled, offering a flask where he uncorked the wooden stopper. The rare moment of actual facial expressions, the silver-haired girl looked sick at the offer. Rhoda eyed the flask with dread as her complexion seemed to have paled slightly. More for me, Tilda. With no hesitation he chugged the drink, as the stream of dark-colored sparkling water entered his maw. That doesn't look healthy at all, Rhoda commented, staring at him with a deadpan look. It's not, but it's that taste that makes me miss home. He said, fondly patting the empty flask. Every day he and his brother would just get a drink on the way home from school. Their sister complained about the fizzy drink causing her to choke and made him smile, pain in the ass that she was. He wouldn't have traded those memories for anything. Anyway, let's get going, the teacher is coming, right? He said, gaining a serious look as the girl nodded to it, following him as they left the hangar once again. While waiting on the ride to reach his mother's office, the wolf girl took a moment to remember Naruto practically moving a room full of bedroom furniture into one of the empty rooms in that place. Practically living there and spending time doing his planning, the girl almost found that determination inspiring for someone who was near her own age. Yes, they should be arriving. The two stopped as they left the matriarch's office to see a blue-haired man waiting for them. Now, Rhoda finished her sentence, for once annoyed at the fact she didn't do her job right. Lord Naruto, this is Lord Solace Fia Arclight, Master Swordsman of the country. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. Solace greeted Naruto with a hand to his chest. Likewise, Naruto nodded back in acknowledgement, his hand extended out for a mutual sign of respect. The teen glared at the man who gripped his hand hard. Before doing the same, don't take me lightly, sir. He warned as the man gave a small smirk as he retracted his hand. My son can take a lesson from your brazen actions, he said before his steely face returned. Your mother, his face seemed to be conflicted as he spoke, someone I respected as a fellow student back in our adolescence, asked me to train you. My family only train our children, but due to her request and my own reasons, you seem to be the exception. I shall teach you along with my son. Your son? Yes, my son Chris. Chris? I'm guessing he's the kid who wears glasses at parties, he said, knowing the general idea of what Chris looks like. Yes, that would be him. Solace answered with a nod. Come along, your maid shall stay here, he said as the girl glared at the man. Naruto followed the man as they went to the front yard to see a young man wearing a white GI uniform as he walked up to them. Naruto instantly could tell that's Chris. He was arrogant looking and in a bad mood like always, kinda like Hiei from This is going to the student who trains with me. He scoffed at the idea of the blonde being able to even stand the first hour of training. However, the blonde took the blue-haired boy's wooden swords. Name's Naruto, jerk, he stated as he also grabbed another sword without looking, as both the teacher and son of the teacher saw that it was Rhoda who sent it, from the rooftop. Also, best girl of the year. He chuckled as he passed Chris the other sword. The boy glared at him as they turned to Chris' father, who bowed to them, and they followed suit. Naruto something as the man loosened and took off the top of his GI to see a two-diagonal line scar in his chest. Let's begin. The first exercise is 1,000 sword strikes, he ordered as the three began their training. As hours passed, Chris having trouble keeping up with the blonde and his father, he looked surprised to see Naruto barely breaking a sweat. Impressive, most students still have trouble with this simple training exercise, Solace said as he looked at his son with a nod. Chris, you did well, but you're overdoing your strikes. Yes, father, Chris said. Question? Naruto said as the man looked at the new student. Where did you get that scar? Ah, you mean this? That's quite a bit of a tale. He chuckled. Just a few months ago, someone nearly killed me. I was going to visit an old friend and a stranger asked me for a fight. I didn't care for such barbaric reasons. But he dared to strike me when my back was turned, but an odd weapon was used against me. A giant sword almost the size of myself was used, something incredibly heavy but with two tips. Chris looked concerned as he spoke. Mother nearly died of fright when the top healers of the church almost didn't save him. He mentioned that the master swordsman was near death when they found him. Yes, well, it was nothing short of a miracle when my life was decided to be spared. The man said with a frown of anger, he didn't take my life either out of arrogance or pride. One day I shall redeem myself, he vowed as Solace lifted his sword, and you too will also be strong to prevent that man from also besting you. Take a break, we shall resume later. Naruto chuckled while he stretched out his arms, Haven't had a good workout since my mother adopted me. You're good, Chris mumbled under his breath, realizing this blonde wasn't some run-of-the-mill noble who got lucky enough to get training. How are you so strong? The blonde merely stood tall as he went to Chris, realizing he was on one knee, giving his hand. Guess I wanted to impress my upperclassmen when it came to swords. I don't like being left behind, he said, using a similar line the protagonist used to make Chris trust her. Get ready. We need to get ready. Father is a taskmaster. He mentioned, not trying to show his embarrassed red cheeks. I won't tolerate a weak fellow student. I need you to get strong to keep pace with me. The blonde chuckled as he nodded, but something made him wonder. In the game, Chris' father was a man who never knew defeat, and from it the man made Chris' life hard trying to reach that height. Who could best that strongest knight, even if it was a dirty way to start a fight? A sword that was big and heavy? The young man spent the rest of the day training, slowly making sure to gain Chris's friendship. 3 out of the 5 harem members are now in Naruto's life. Angie is slowly becoming a friend of his, and lastly his plans that might give a gigantic step forward. Naruto gave a cheeky smile to himself at the idea that no one can stop his plans after getting this much tailwind to start off. This was merely just the beginning of a lengthy campaign. Done, Naruto shouted. It was only a few days until the tournament happened, and he was finally able to get his laptop done. Naruto looked at it and gave a weak smile. It was ugly and rather boxy, but it was a functional piece of technological equipment that can revolutionize the world, assuming he wanted to give this to their world. That will be the equivalent of giving TNT to a bunch of trigger-happy kids. I better keep this safe from prying eyes and hands, he muttered, but thought about it, and the only one who could unlock it was him, since the password was a 2-step verification. The young man sighed as he turned it on for a quick check system. Wait, what? He whispered quickly, typing in keystrokes to see something that was odd. When turning on the system, the screen seems to be connected to another signal. The blonde worried if it's a bug or connecting to some kind of server he's not supposed to, that was either restricted or sensitive. Okay, maybe a backdoor hack? He said, thinking of a possible theory. It wasn't hard to think that he can hack into the weak spot of the server. That way he can find out it's being used at the moment or just a remnant of something else. If it's the latter, he can look into it later on. Alright. What if I tilde? Naruto said, typing on the crude keyboard, watching the white screen shattered as a black screen with hundreds of letters quickly moved across the dark color screen. Okay, tilde? What have we here? He raised an eyebrow in interest and typed a few more keys on the laptop's keyboard. Soon a sudden flux of the same number came up. Oh my god. Naruto whispered as he minimized the screen to pull up a map of the country on his screen. Taking the numbers and taking a moment, he drew a line over the map with what a map maker would use. If that's longitude and that latitude, there. The heir of the Harmonia family said as he saw what the coordinates lie. He nearly forgot it, the location of the airbase that you can acquire when using real currency to get an edge of the game. If the game was real, if the characters were the same, then all the items he got from the game were real too. That explains the Gundams actually. He realized as the young man wondered how they came here, but the fact that the game brought them into the world, then it was no real argument that the mobile base he bought to help with the game progression was also here. Naruto continued to type, now more furiously than ever, and a few more screens popped up. This is good, he said, remembering the fact in the last life he had his 6 best Gundams in that base for the protagonist and her harem. Even it's not the same Gundamium metals. The fact it's usable machines with a generator that the base uses will easily cure the power problem. But unfortunately the tournament is coming up soon. That plan will have to wait until later, after at most. Naruto, dinner. A sudden speaker that echoed the announcement his mother made, caused the teen to place the computer to the side. Smiling as he was going to have a pretty interesting week. However, if he had stayed longer he would have seen something more unusual happening on his screen. As the map was minimized, the dark screen went back to normal, leaving a small notification window that said, 2 signals attempting to contact base. Harmonia laptop and 4R, before suddenly it turned off and had a new notification. 1 signal attempting to contact base. Other signal lost. Harmonia laptop still active. This isn't going to work. Naruto mumbled, rubbing his eyes from being unable to look away from his computer screen for hours as he tried to figure out how to figure out the problems for his Gundams. He spent days fixing, recalibration and even asking for others' help, though that was a really bad move as many of the so-called smartest, nobles were not even close to high school level teens with their lack of hard work or school systems. The blonde cannot say this, but this world needs a better curriculum for schooling. Lord Naruto. The blonde looked down, remembering he was in the hangar helping his mother's bodyguard get used to the Phi Gundam. Yo, what's up? He asked, seeing the mobile suit was taking a knee as Jeremiah smiled at him. This is incredible. I never knew such a man-made machine could be this nimble and at the same time incredibly strong. He said, looking at his Gundam with pride. Are you sure this is still lacking? The blonde nodded, placing his laptop on his back using a bit of magic to keep it in place as he jumped down from the walkway he was on. Yeah, technically this model is supposed to be faster than some of the current plans I have. Not to mention this is still just my idea of a mass-produce model. Mass-produce. The teal-haired gentleman gasped at the idea that his machine was something going to be the norm. Well, Lady Harmonia did say you had rather big goals. Still, I will do my best to give you notes on the things I notice when piloting this mobile suit. He started taking out a small notepad and gave it to the blonde. Everything I think might help improve the suit or is a flaw. I just hope it does work for you, my liege. Naruto took it, giving a glance as he too noticed some of the flaws were indeed what he feared, but smiled at the older man as he looked at the Phi Gundam. How do you know Lady Harmonia? The man's face gave a confused look as the blonde sat back down as he started his corrections on his laptop. I met her when we were still in school. I was still a senior when she just started. It was a normal meeting. He started remembering he and his clique were rather infamous for being called the next rising stars until she came, and Jeremiah gave a satisfying smirk. I saw her tie against the strongest swordsman in the school, outwit many geniuses, and easily bested me, a good pilot on machines. Naruto took a moment to look up, remembering his mother. He had seen her serious side, but the way she acted and her body looks like, that seems rather impossible. Are you sure? I don't see her somehow on par with Chris' father. A good pilot maybe, but he stopped as the man before him smacked his hand on his Gundam, causing Naruto to look worriedly at the man. Are you? It's fine, and yes, Lady Harmonia did in fact meet a standstill with Solace. But she had, as the school begged them not to make the cost of the property damage was already staggering. He smirked and remembered the short-haired version of his lady looming sheepish at the disaster she and Solace made, but he turned to the blonde with saddened eyes. I promise you this, that I will do my best to protect you like I have with her, my young lord. Naruto stared into Jeremiah's orange-colored irises and nodded kindly to his words. Well, I better get ready. I need to get prepared for that tourney. He started to get his mind ready on how to approach the idea until he heard a cough from behind him to see Jeremiah giving him a smirk. You tend to leave your left hand lax. Fix that unless you want your enemies to flank that side easily. I shall talk to your mother about your studies now. He chuckled as Naruto gave him a mean pout, but chuckled. The two slowly got along compared to their first meeting, possibly due to Naruto's mother making them work with each other on the Phi Gundam due to their distant relationship. Now, like Rhoda, Jeremiah was something of a close friend of his, and he was willingly to help him on his problem for the island. Naruto and his mother made a hard choice, but they sold off some of their land from other places that the nation gave them to invest in some money for him to bet on himself for the tournament. The idea was to generate cash posing as a commoner, which was easy due to his abilities to disguise himself and also having literally 2 lifespans years of fighting. He was going to make sure no one bested him, unless the payout for him taking a dive was better, of course. He wasn't that full of nobility pride tilde. He was a goddamn ninja in any form, and if it meant completing the mission he would take some L's and smile through it, although he does want to only win, to be honest. Hey, pride on being nobles. He chuckled ruefully. Other than Angie's family, the royal family and a few more examples, most of the nobility in his nation were all so pathetic and rode on their predecessors' coattails. Even worse are those women who, I'll fucking find that family who did that. Naruto swore, his eyes glaring darkly at the empty nothing space in his underground hangar from the pain he felt from what they did to him. Taking a calming breath, he leapt up to climb on the stairs to the walkway to get into his real home. When leaving his mother's room, due to the secret entrance still being there, he was greeted to the sight of Rhoda waiting for him. Something's wrong, she said, earning a raised eyebrow from her master. Your mother was. I think something is wrong with her. The blonde looked at his wolf maid, who continued, she seems paler than usual, and I don't think it's from the recent stress from the plans you and her have done, she said as the young heir to the family chuckled. She's fine, that happens once in a while, I think it's due to the queen pestering her to visit. He said, but Rhoda could tell he wasn't convincing himself, but chose not to say anymore. Anyway, tomorrow we're heading out, okay? You need to help me keep the prince and his friends. The white-haired woman gave a confused look. Don't you mean, your friend's master? She asked as Naruto scratched the back of his head with an awkward chuckle, mumbling about a simple mistake. Very well, I shall get the clothing to blend in with the riffraff for the day. Do you need anything else? Gundanium and a buttload of scientists who aren't evil bags like Hojo? He asked sarcastically. However, Naruto smiled happily when Rhoda gave a cool smile of her own. Sorry, fresh out. Maybe tomorrow? She jested as the blonde walked toward her and playfully hit her shoulder for a nice response. Please rest up, master, you'll need it for tomorrow. The blonde agreed and left the room as the wolf maid left his mother's room and wandered around the large mansion. It's been a couple of years since she was employed by her young master, and even then she never really wanted to stay here as long as he wanted. The young wolfkin walked down the corridor to the other maids, smiling at her. She kindly responded back, if only due to the manner she had to learn for this job. This was paradise for any female or male servant. They didn't get treated as some pleasure toy nor some punching bags for some of the crueler nobles. It's something one would call a safe haven for the few lucky ones to find. Rhoda didn't enjoy it and thanked her young master and his mother for her blessings. It feels like it just happened not too long ago. Rhoda whispered, taking a moment to sit in a windowsill, and proceeded to remember that event, even taking her young master's own words into it. 2 years ago. Naruto was sighing in slight annoyance. It's been a couple of months since his mother adopted him from the orphanage, and true to her words, she was acting like a real mother and allowed him to visit his fellow friends back home, or rather his old home. She was ecstatic to learn this morning during breakfast that his birthday, the one he chose that was in his last 2 old lives, came to town to discuss plans with him on what he wanted for his celebrations. Man, she is way more interested in this than me. Naruto mumbled as he watched as his mother entered a bakery they often bought from to no doubt request for a cake. He took a moment to look around and watch the people. Compared to the normal people and nobility at the bigger cities or capital, these people were kinder and humble than those crude and money-hungry nobles. Geez, it's night and day with these people, he commented to himself. Soon he heard someone yell from his left side. Get back, you filthy little animal. A man chasing a white-haired girl with dog ears who had a couple loaves of bread in her arms as she dashed away. Soon she fell down, scattering her loot as she looked at the dirty food and looked sad before getting on her feet and ran away. Just in time before anyone could stop her, however, she turned to see Naruto, who saw her own eyes. They looked sad. Soon he walked towards her path, feeling he needed to do this. The girl barely made it to the alley as she felt her stomach practically devouring itself from the loud noises it made. How long has it been since she even got a single scrap to eat? Let alone a decent meal? So hungry? The wolf girl bemoaned in sadness. She hadn't had food in a week, and her best chance to get food went up in smoke. She planned out everything and it went perfectly, until her lack of energy made her stumbled and lost her own chance at food. Hey, what? The wolf girl questioned, turning to see Naruto standing there. Her eyes quivered in fear as her complexion was pale white, realizing that she had been caught and there was nowhere else to run. Gotta, was the only thing she managed to say before she fell on her side. Breathing heavily as she couldn't move anymore, not noticing the blonde approaching her unconscious body. The wolf girl gasped as she woke up, oddly refreshed, but noticed she was in a fancy room. Then noticed a sleeping blonde, the same one she saw before passing out, laying his head on the bed she was in. She patted her body, and saw that she still wore her raggedy clothing, meaning she wasn't undressed. Why would he? She began, but soon she heard the door opening. She looked around for a weapon and saw nothing to defend herself. She considers the boy as a hostage, but it could be worse for her. The wolf girl opted to look weak so she can slip by under their noses. You're awake. The girl saw a stunning white-haired lady entering the room and soon a stern-looking teal-haired knight walking behind her. It's been nearly 5 days since my son begged me to let you in. Your son? The wolf girl blinked. And 5 days? Yes, dear. That's how long you've been passed out. The white-haired lady answered with a nod. My son visited you every day to make sure you were properly nursed back to health. I see? Grumble. The woman lightly chuckled as she made the teal man lean down. Soon he sighed as he left. He went to get some cake, dear. The lavender-haired girl glared at the woman before hearing the boy next to her mumbles. I said, no party needed, to watch. Party? The poor thief echoed as the mother of the blonde smiled. Remember I said he begged me to let you in? She said as the youngest girl allowed herself to nod as her answer. That day he found he was supposed to get his party ready. It passed 2 days ago. He didn't want anyone, neither the maids or my knight, to watch over you. Why for me? She said as the woman looked worried for a second. He said, she has the same eyes as mine. Harmonia turned to Naruto's sleeping face and frowned. He lost a little brother not too long ago. And even then I feel like he has more pain than one should have been given. Taking a moment to collect herself, she resumed, my son, despite being a noble now, still hasn't lost his kindness and still wants to aid those who suffer alone. What? Naruto jolted as he heard his mother talk and saw both Guinevere and the wolf girl looking at him. You're okay. He shouted in happiness as the girl felt awed at his words, like a warm feeling on her chest. I was so scared. Harmonia seemed to slip out as the blonde began to speak more. Look, I know it's not my right to ask, but please, let me hire you as my helper. You look like you haven't eaten in days. The white-haired wolf nodded. Indeed, ever since she came to this land she was barely able to even find clean water to sustain herself. But she looked at the young boy. I'm not a slave, she growled, knowing what nobles wanted from some like her kind. Hey, he said with a frown, my ma will kill me, both me and my original, if they hurt me, think about it. Soon he had a serious look. I just want you to have a chance. Those eyes that look like the world or anyone doesn't want you, right? Naruto watched as the girl stiffened as she looked down in shame. I know the feeling, that it is worse to think you were never wanted, but even if it's just for a while, let me bury that notion for a bit. Soon as Jeremiah came with some cake and tea. I'll come back after you eat. The girl looked at the tray of food set in front of her. I can use him to get food. He thinks he can make me into a slave so easily. She was going to take advantage of this opportunity and get her fill and run off. She still needs her goal to be complete. Rhoda smiled as she felt a bit childish at her own words from back then, but now she is truly indebted to her master and his family. But eventually all good things come to an end. Hours later. This is so exciting. Angie and Clarice said with stars in their eyes as they, along with Naruto and their fiancés, dressed up in normal clothing and different hairstyles, walking to the crowd of people entering the arena. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle as the two normally mature girls were excited about breaking the rules. Like the prince, who was practically bouncing on his heels while brother tried to keep him calm to prevent people from noticing his identity. So the plan is getting Naruto to sign up and then get some info for his enemies. Julius said, ready to dwell into darkness for his friend's victory, as Naruto comically waved him off. Nah, signing up is okay. I can handle anyone who faces me. He stated as he took a moment to think on something. Actually, Tilda. He started crossing his arms, resuming his speech. I need someone to also check the frame battles. I don't need the winners, I just want to know the 5 pilots whose frames I need to look into. Worst case scenario, he might have to match and combine other frames in case this new one he wins doesn't pan out. Clarice raised her hand as she smiled. We don't need to, my papa keeps a record on them. Since we work on airbikes, we need to keep an eye on good pilots. The orange girl said as the blonde smiled at that as he nodded. Okay, we're going to talk about that later. He said as Clarice nodded as the kids walked to the register as Julius placed a large amount of money for what Naruto told him to bring to register. Just one? The official staff said as he looked worried for the blonde as he nodded. There is no children's. I know, the blonde retorted as he saw the man nod and sigh, worried for his own well-being. Thank you, he said as the young boy walked back to his friends with a thumbs up. I'm in. Great, we can see this working well. Julius said excitedly as he and his brother somehow bought steak skewers, as Angie and Clarice, however, were the only ones paying attention to the names that were on the banner. I didn't know many commoners took part in this effort. Clarice muttered, looking at the names of the participants of the frame battles. I only see a few names of nobility here, and, whoa, is that name real? Angie looked over her shoulder and looked worried. I don't think we should be alarmed since it's an open tournament, otherwise my father would have not let me come. Soon Naruto nodded at that before realizing what she said. Wait, you asked your dad to come? He asked as the girl nodded as she looked confused. No, I meant I was spectating with a friend and he said, oh, he was coming after all? Angie retold Naruto. She said remember as the boy seemed to wonder on the words. Well, we better. Naruto? Julius spoke worryingly as the boy and two girls looked to where his voice came from, and they all comically paled as they saw their parents all behind Julius, who was held up from the back of his collar. They are here, he muttered in defeat as his brother seemed to also nod in the same look of loss. The tournament. Naruto and his friends all sat down as the queen, his mother, Angie's father and Clarice's father all glaring at their children. You didn't hear that we were going to attend this tournament, Julius? The queen sighed as the dark blue-haired kid gasped as he just remembered that. No, of course I heard. Julius answered hastily to save face, while clearing his throat. If you weren't a kid, I would smack you so hard right now. Naruto whispered to his friend, look, I'd already registered, so unless you stop the whole tournament then I need to go now. Naruto reminded them as he walked down the stairs with his mother in tow. I swear I didn't know they would be coming, they never do. Guinevere promised as Naruto shook his head. Please believe me, Tilda? I do, he responded, looking up to his mother as he stopped. Believe me, but it's better for them not to think you gave me permission. He said, confusing the woman, if they learn about the situation we're doing they might stop me. I know you trust them and our family is loyal to them. But I'm loyal to the country, something that might be with the royal family. His mother narrowed her eyes. I trust that you still at least trust the queen? The blonde nodded curtly. She seems to be one of the small percentage of women who aren't too high of their power. He explained as the mother only smirked, but again, I have made sure this plan will work, but I need you to help with the subtlety. The leader of the Harmonia family returned a nod to that promise. It will be hard, but the money will be yours after a few days, and assuming the queen can help, that island will be yours and only yours. That caught the blonde guard as he looked confused at the woman's words. Mine? The idea is that it is your plan. I cannot even begin to keep with such planning nor intricate designs. So it would be better to consider this a way for you to keep a good way to make income if something happens to me. Naruto chuckled as he walked down, as if, you're going to enjoy your time after this plan works, and assuming the new frame works out. He said knowing the biggest part of this plan is winning the tournament is that the new frame would work out. Wish me luck, he waved off ignoring the sad smile on his mother's face. A mother tries to make her son great, ready for the world, my son. She whispered, heading up to watch the fight. Naruto walked up the stage where he saw an adult walking up. The man was buff and wearing extravagant armor. Are you kidding? A child? He said as Naruto didn't bother to get angry. He would keep the people betting against him for his plan to work. Oh well, sorry kid, time for you to learn about the real world. Naruto ignored the man as the announcer said their usual spiel began. The blonde watched as the man rushed straight towards him with an axe, only for Naruto to jump back and move closer to the edge of the ring. With one more big swing, Naruto ducked and rolled to the man's legs to cause him to fall over the edge. Winner, Naruto Harmonia. The referee stated as the audience was silent, causing the blonde to return to the contestants' area where the others were backing away from him or rudely whispering to make him feel bad. Amazing, the queen of the nation said as she didn't think Naruto had much of a chance. What was that he did? She never saw that fighting style from her original birthplace nor here. Guinevere smiled as she spoke. Apparently my son has been working some new fighting styles. I believe he calls that one Aikido, using the enemy's force against them. The woman felt pride surging to her being from her son's incredible skills. From intellect and physical abilities he was suited to be a legendary hero. Soon she saw Angie's eyes dancing with joy as she saw Naruto defeat another knight, this time actually having him knock the person out. Amazing, Julius said as he and Jilk were clearly happy watching their friend win many times. She also saw Jilk's fiancé nearly jump with joy as well as they watched the match. The blonde barely knew these kids, but many of them, from how hard they cheer or seem to enjoy his wins, could be mistaken they were friends for years. Winner Al. Harmonia turned to see another name come out of the usual people who she knew win these matches. She nearly turned pale as she saw the last year's winner on the floor with a brutal slash in his chest courtesy of the man in front of him. Al lifted a large Zweihander in his hand before spinning it mid-air and placing it on his back. The man seemed to be displeased as the next fight started. The Harmonia woman glanced at the brackets and saw the main fights were almost ready. From 100 combatants to 10 in this quick succession showed her Naruto wasn't the only wild card here. Soon she saw the princess, walking up to the marble railing that kept her from falling down. "Is something wrong, your highness?" she said, looking at the girl, who shook her head before wincing as Naruto punched a man's face so hard he was running away crying. "Well, I know for a fact you abhor these, excuse me." The woman covered the princess's ears as she shouted, "Kick his ass, Naruto." Harmonia, sorry, was cheering for my son. The mother of Naruto comically snaps her head back to the queen for cursing like a commoner. She let go of the royal girl's head as she resumed, "But it seems you're focused on someone else, aren't you?" Erika blushed as she seemed to be caught but nonetheless nodded. "I don't approve of this, but you and him could see each other in secret," Guinevere suggested as the girl looked confused by her words. "You don't disapprove?" The close friend of the royal family shook her head. "No, but as you know, Naruto will not be able to marry you despite my status. It will take him a long time to reach the rank that will be required for him to publicly court you," Harmonia explained before adding to her thoughts, not including the fact he has no real want for promotions and causes for his projects. "I should make plans to make him at least enjoy some girls. The maids will be keen as many of them are into him even as child. Though I see the appeal, tilde. Oh dear?" Queen Mylene sighed in annoyance as her dear friend was swaying back and forth giggling like a pervert. Harmonia was many great things about their country: loyal, kind, open-minded, patriotic, and most of all sincere. But her main flaw: she is a big perv. The poor royal woman grimaced at the feeling of her constantly fondled by Naruto's mother, who constantly attack her without end. Winner. Ow. The royalty and nobility section looked shocked again when another famous fighter was defeated by the strange red-haired man. Preliminaries are done, Angie's brother said as the young girl looked worried as magic spells were used to show the faces of the 10 surviving people for the tournament. Naruto and this owl were among them. Soon 2 people's faces dropped out as they ran from the arena. Harmonia? Vincent said as the mother lost any semblance of joy as it became deadly slits of damnation. "I know who is this owl," he said as the woman merely nodded. We cannot," considering. Her eyes darted around the arena watching certain people taking notes of the last people of the tournament. "We might cause a panic. Tail the red bastard, ah," she comically looked shaken realizing she kinda insulted the man due to their color in their name. Ahem, she coughs trying to regain her composure. "Make sure he doesn't talk to them." Vincent used a finger to tell his son to walk up to them. "Make sure to have our loyal allies to follow him. That man must not be alone with the people Guinevere chose." His eldest son only nodded and curt yes and left them behind. The older man sighed as he spoke. "I remember we used to hold events and not be forced to be on guard. I don't. My whole family spent centuries keeping our guard. And now it will fall on him soon," the woman whispered, not minding the older man place a comforting hand on her own. "I don't want this for him anymore. He's more like a soldier than a child," she spoke softly, her head breaking at the result she achieved but now wholeheartedly regret. "Your heart is in the right place," Vincent promises, but couldn't say more as the first match was starting. And saw the man he didn't want Naruto to face off in this battle. Naruto watched from the bench he was on with great interest. Most of the real fighters were defeated by him or this rising star. But like him, he usually beat them with one swing from that odd Zweihänder on his back. Began. The blonde watched as this fighter going against the red-haired man was a cut above the rest. He had rapier and made sure to keep his distance from the man. Soon he was circling around him. "I heard of you," the rapier user declared. "I heard tales of the Red Blaze becoming a powerful force in the Fu Alliance and—" "Shut up and fight," the Red Blaze shouted, jumping back to spin kick the man who dodged by rolling out of the way, only for the red-haired man to chase after him. "Idiot." Grabbing the man's wrist he easily snapped at it. "You act all tough but you couldn't hold a candle to me." The redhead laughed as he swung his leg to break the man's left kneecap and swiftly punch his throat. "Hey, you think that this small thing was going to hurt me?" "Gah, ta, saw," was the man's only coherent response as Al simply kicked him off the ring. "Yeah, I don't get that," he joked as if understanding the mumbling as he looked at the weapon, and gained a dark smirk. "Catch." The other men were shocked to see Al through with great power as it was going towards one of the shocked knights who closed his eyes for the impending death, only to open them as Naruto grabbed it and glared at the man who only looked ecstatic. You're next, he vowed as he let that threat hang in that deadly tone as Naruto looked at his hand and glared at the man. Naruto simply walked up to the man as the other combatants fled, leaving them alone as the whole building was silent as Naruto and Al stared at each other. I'm not going to let you take my win. Who? Pretty for a little brat, huh? The man said, using his hands to undo the wrapping around his face. Fine, I'll do you a favor. Not many people see this handsome mug of mine. Usually it's against my people's traditions to show one's face, but you're about the only worthy bastard here to see it. Naruto's eyes widened as the man's face was revealed, and it didn't make sense, it couldn't. The man had forest green eyes that seemed to pierce through to a person's soul. He had long, messy, red-orange hair that he held in a loose ponytail while he had a thin mustache. He soon cast away the white cloth that once covered his face. Alsaches. The man now looked impressed by the name the child said. Huh, guess you know me, huh? He chuckled before his eyes glared dangerously at Naruto. Too bad, I won't hold back. The blonde eyes widened as Ali leapt towards the child. Die. He said as a hidden knife came from his sleeve as Naruto finally took out his sword to block it, only to grit his teeth in pain when the red-haired man swung a club at his right side. Shit, Naruto grunted, he had hidden weapons on top of his heavy sword. The blonde realized before kicking the man away who easily used the club to take the hit. Cough, I think he got a rib. The blonde said, amazed that he faked him out. The blonde could feel Jiraiya and Kakashi sighing in disappointment for him getting hurt from an easy trick. Damn, Ali said looking at his club as it snapped. My tribe made this from hardened wood made for lasting anything. You got a good kick, he said, tossing the broken head to the side and lazily flipped the handle as he gauged Naruto. Bastard, to think you wouldn't stoop any lower? Naruto spat. It's called a tournament, kid. The red-haired man said as Naruto tried to see his stance could tell him anything. In his second life he fought against some Middle Eastern styles when getting himself back to full power. But this man's style seems to be more guerrilla warfare than actually fighting. It's not breaking rules if there's one to break. They said to bring as many weapons as long as I check them, didn't say I could hide them. So he's as much of an asshole as the original one, but is he the same? Naruto thought as he took a moment to think. How much is KPSA or the innovators paying you this time around? He said as the blonde inched closer to the madman who raised an eyebrow who also slowly took his time getting towards Naruto. The hell is a KPSA? And I don't know any faction in this country called innovators. The red-haired man said bluntly, but, just fight. He shouted, thrusting his knife forward, only for Naruto to dodge to the side. Okay, so this is another version of Ali. Naruto thought to himself, feeling a little thankful that somehow he isn't more experienced than Ali Alsaches. The blonde circled around him ignoring his chest pain and thrust an open pal at his back which turned on his heel, swinging his leg to strike Naruto's head. Same night. Splat. What? He shouted swinging his leg and was stabbed with a knife. The crazed red-haired man eyes widened, as he realized it was his he tried to stab the brat with. Shit. He barely dodged the uppercut from the blonde where he pulled out the knife and proceeded to cut Naruto with it. The blonde merely jumped, ducked, and weaved around the man's thrusts. Stay still, will ya? Ali snapped. At least his pissy attitude is the same. Naruto grimaced in his thoughts as he continued to weave through his attacks. There! Naruto shouted as he fell to his die using his hand to hold himself up and made a rising kick towards the man, only to gasp as the man grabbed his leg. He shouldn't have done that, he said soon lifting his other arm and using his elbow swung downward at Naruto's ankle with a sickening crack. Ah! The blonde screamed in pain as the red-haired man chuckled, watching in enjoyment of the blonde pain. Soon he stopped forward over the blonde and stomped on his chest hard. Come on kid, get up, you ain't done yet, he cheered for Naruto with a crazed smile as he continued to cruelly beat down a child. That son of a... Rhoda's eyes flared up as she bit down as her canines lengthened at the man's cruelty. She wanted to do something, anything to help her friend, but can't, unless Naruto runs the risk of being disqualified. Harmonia gripped the railing as hard as she could hear the queen yelling at her to pull Naruto out, but couldn't know the plan of her son hinges on his own call. Please, she whispered watching the blonde now spit up blood from the man still stomping on him. As the others watched, the only princess watched as she too had fear and worry, but deep in her eyes showed she had confidence in Naruto's fight. I know you can do it. Come on, is that all you got, brat? Ali sneered and mocked, as he continually stomped on the boy's chest. Got you, Naruto eerily whispered as when Ali stomped on his chest the blonde grabbed the foot with both hands, clenching them tightly to it, and used his right leg to hit the man's other leg making fall down where he saw the blonde's first heading towards his face. Gah! The red-haired man shouted in pain as his right eye was nearly crushed from the punch Naruto gave him, causing Naruto to let go and gain some distance watching the man grumbling with rage. Ah! Gah! The man soon chuckled darkly as he turned his head where his only eye glowed in amusement. I knew it, you're like me, he said with a grin. You're made for killing too. The blonde narrowed his eyes at the man who seemed to know his character, but didn't say anything as the red-haired man wiped some blood away from his messed up eye. Yeah, I figured you'd know about that. I did a lot of messed up shit back then, but you, oh ho ho, if a kid like you was trying to blind me, then you're really got a future as a soldier. Ali stated as the whole audience watched the scene in silence. You hear that? They fear us because we're strong, these fuckers think about money or status, but when it comes down to it, it's all about one thing, killing. Ali al-Sachs said as Naruto stood there. Naruto sighed as he shook his head. Leave the philosophy behind, we're here to fight, he reminded the man who grins in acknowledgement, as if approving the child's choice. The red-haired man pulled out his Zweihandler, as the blonde knew this was going to be the endgame. Eehee, too bad you had to face me. Would have liked the idea of training ya. Ali vanished as Naruto went all fours to escape a large swing from the man who suddenly got behind him. The blonde parries the man's slash by hitting the side of the weapon to barely redirect the hit where it easily went though the rain. Cheeky little thing, aren't ya? I do what I can to survive. Pow! The blonde punched the man who stepped back, soon a rush of hits cussing the red-haired violent man to step backwards bit by bit. Grr, little shit, he growled through his clenched teeth as he was nearly pushed out of the ring. The man lost his focus as he nearly fell over and stabbed his sword backwards to catch himself. Making sure his foot touched solid ground he launched himself to the blonde, only for said blonde to pivot his body and sidestep out of the way much to Ali's surprise. What? Wabam. Next thing that happened was Naruto performed a roundhouse kick to his gut, knocking the wind out of Ali as he was sent near the edge of the ring once more. There, he tossed his weapon as Naruto saw a chain connected to the end of the weapon making the blonde duck and roll as the man once again swung it. Dance punk. Sachs roared, swinging the weapon wildly as Naruto barely had time to move in when the blade almost sliced him. I got a move that will finish you off, he said, swinging the blade towards Naruto and tossing a couple of short blades at the directions Naruto will likely go. Shit, the blonde said, unable to figure out where to turn and saw he was on the edge of the ring. Damn it, soon his hand started to glow a red aura. Snip tilde. The blonde let out a breath of relief as he saw a rapier cutting Ali's chain as the blade was sent flying to a wall where it embedded itself into it, too close. Naruto breathed out, almost had to go all out, he murmured to himself at the close call. What? Ali gawked. This kid was my kill. What made both final fighters silent was Naruto's mother, walking towards the ring holding an axe as she glared at the red-haired man. The battle is over, we have a winner. Mother? Naruto uttered in confusion, but a single glance from the corner of her eye was enough to make Naruto silent. It was like looking at the face of Tsunade, who recently learned Jiraiya made a character based on her body in his latest Icha Icha series. Naruto's mother turned towards the crowd. The winner of this bout is my son, Naruto. What? The red-haired man stood in front of the woman. You better have some proof than swinging some brass ball at me, woman, he crudely said as the woman didn't even seem to be fazed by his words. Best step off, little boy, before I commit murder, she returned the threat as the man and her glared at each other, neither backing down. Oh, Naruto mumbled as he slowly stepped back, knowing that this could get ugly. Either you got proof, or your son is going to die horribly, after I snap your thin neck. Ali al-Sachs promised as he turned to someone he didn't expect to enter the ring. The hell is that brat doing here? Angie? Naruto said as he was soon helped to his feet by Rhoda, who was glaring openly at Ali. He saw the young fiancé of the crown prince walking towards him and his mother. Guinevere smiled as she broke eye contact, and helped Angie to her side. Speak into my hand, sweetie. she said as a magic circle appeared over the woman's wrist as Angie leaned into it. The girl's voice echoed throughout the stadium. Naruto Harmonia is the winner. When Ali was sent back to the edge of the ring, she pointed to the blood side of where the two were. Ali al-Sachs was wrung out. What? The man said to approach the girl until the Harmonia matriarch stood in front of Angelica. Soon guards came around them as Angie's father, the queen, and Jeremiah were also arrived. However, the red-haired swordsman chuckled. So this is it? The nobles cheat me a win and my only real fight in years? He questioned as the queen shook her head. Commoner or not, you lost fair and square, present your foot. She demanded as the man was about to say something rude only for both Angie's father. Jeremiah pointed guns in his direction. Your foot, Sachs. Tch, he kicked off his shoes as many of the people glared at him as the queen motioned Jeremiah to pick it up. I got a tailor, want his info? The man was taunted as the teal-haired man. Sir Jeremiah? Mylene asked as she carefully looked at all who shifted his weight to possibly retaliate or run away. It's true, it's blood, as Angie said. The man smiled as Naruto looked confused at the announcement. Wait, he started trying to stand on his own after gently removing himself from Rhoda. How does that make me the winner? Come here. Angie pulled Naruto carefully to see the edge, where he saw two things. One was a large straight diagonal line where Sachs's sword stabbed into to prevent him from falling out. Next to it was a bloody footprint that was clearly the size of an adult. He rang out, he said, both happy to see it and also ecstatic he got it right. Who cares about that? I want to finish this, gay. The red-haired man glared as the teal-haired man pushed his rifles to his chest. You lost, get out of my lady's son's sight, he said as the red-haired man growled but stepped down. He stopped, his back turned before speaking loudly. You are not going to fit in. Kid, trust me, these people don't want a real fight. They want to hide behind their titles and let other commoners save them. Get out while you can, because I am. This place is pathetic. The blonde clenched a fist as he watched the man, a clear psychopath, walk away, no doubt going to see him once again in the future. He took a moment to sigh as the queen walked to him and presented Naruto a small key. You have become this year's champion and the youngest as well. As always, the newest frame is yours, she said as Naruto stared up to see three flying mecha knights holding up an obvious new and slicker model. This the frame called? Naruto tunes her voice out easily, working the idea for his plans around that machine. All I need is a power source and the ability to make the metals harder than anything the country has. Naruto? Naruto. A voice called out, snapping Naruto out of his thoughts, focusing his attention back to his mother. He saw the queen was still walking, but his mother gave him a knowing look. The payoff was big. Soon he saw the woman retrain her eyes on Mylene, who seemed to finish her speech. Alas, we now have a good idea on your future potential. Ah, right. Naruto easily lied confidently. Still, who won the other tournament? The queen did say as she spoke softly. I cannot divulge that knowledge, as she wished to remain nameless. The woman said as Naruto nodded but nonetheless took the key from her hand and smiled. He had achieved the first step and now. Gak? Ali al-Sachs looked emotionless when he knocked out the noble little boy while gutting his little entourage of guards. He raised his blade as he was ready to get another kill and some money, knowing his clients from the Alliance needed this Redgrave off the table for the future. I suggest you let him go. The red-haired man looked to see. He began to chuckle as he saw another child, another brat? He said as the child didn't mind his words, no doubt understanding his frustration. You're powerful and these fools in this country would rather keep you as a commoner and abuse your abilities than make you one of them. He said as Ali looked towards him with small interest. But let him live and I can promise you what you want, war and status. The red-haired man smiled as he walked to the kid. You know, anyone else made that deal I would kill then, knowing they were lying, but you seem to understand my reasons. Forget the status, I want to get another chance to fight that kid I fought against in the tournament. Promise me that and you got a deal. The child smiled smirk as his orange-colored eyes seemed to be lit up with dark delight. Very well. You shall become my first one. You shall become my symbol of war. Soon the first step of the war will come into fruition. Back home, nighttime. Harmonia's matriarch stuttered as she saw the invoice of her son's winnings. Yeah, she's dead? Rhoda said, amused as she waved her hand at her master's mother's face. Are you sure this isn't a mistake? She asked. This looks a bit much. Naruto smiled as he had Jeremiah wrap bandages around his upper body where Ali al-Sachs brutally stomped on him. No, the numbers look right. You can have someone double check if it eases your worries. Naruto was a bit surprised himself, but he earned enough money. Due to Rhoda making a bet with the underdog betting his mother on the official channels, they earned 9 million dia, if 100 dia is worth 100 yen. He made about 900,000 give or take, so, he said as his mother regained her composure. I talked to the queen, and she is looking for the correct size available to purchase. We need at least 3/4 of this money. The rest is yours to use. That's great and all, but what do we use the rest for? Rhoda asked. Supplies? Naruto said, we need hot spring supplies. With the new frame I can easily rig up a Zaku miner or Zaku expedition to make it happen. He said, realizing the fun fact he could easily make a hot spring resort with one mobile suit. A hot spring using a frame? Rhoda blinked in perplexion. That's rather odd. How do you plan to make it work? I can easily wire it up to digger equipment. It's a hell of a lot easier than making beam weapons. Naruto mumbled that the idea of systemic plans were easier than science fiction work. Okay, but what will you do about the water? Rhoda pointed out. The island will have its own abundant natural supply. With magic we can purify any dirt or minerals that could kill the hot spring properties. Naruto explained, and while the resort is being built I can easily take the time to create a new base like the one here. He pointed to his mother's deck where the secret entrance was hidden. If the materials are right and depth is good, I don't have to worry about anyone sneaking from the resort. Everyone looks at his suggestions and were surprised how he could plan such things that far ahead. That actually sounds like a sensible plan. Rhoda murmured in approval. It seems I'm not needed any longer. Her thoughts turned a bit saddened but smiled kindly. But master, who is that man? How did you know him? The blonde bit back his lips, feeling hesitant. Should he really tell her? No, despite the world he entered. Rhoda, Jeremiah, his others aren't NPCs nor characters, they were real. I heard about him, a mercenary of, he wanted to say his real origins but couldn't. He's an independent merc who works for the enemies of the nation, Jeremiah said as everyone turned to him. While his methods are brutal and subject to criticism and scrutiny, the results are no lie and have made a lasting impact on society at large. Rhoda raised an eyebrow at this. Shouldn't he be under surveillance? She asked, unsure on how such a man would be able to walk around with such a notorious record. He is. Even during the tournament, we have all eyes on him on a 24/7 surveillance to ensure he does not become a thorn to the kingdom's side. Jeremiah explained. Mercs are unpredictable after all. You never know what they may have hidden up their sleeve. Lady Harmonia didn't speak as she wanted to say something but held her tongue. Ali al-Sachs has powerful families keeping him in their fold rather than lose him. Since he is a commoner, having the financial backing and political support of many nobility makes him almost impossible to stop. Jeremiah nodded, not to mention the recent rumors. He trailed off as Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. Rumors? What kind? Naruto inquired about his mother. The mother sighed as she didn't like baseless rumors, but this one needs to be addressed. He might defect to the principality side. The moment she said that made Naruto's eyes widen in surprise. The principality are the main enemies who he has to face off in the game. They were better equipped, better pilots, and had ancient items for summoning demons and monsters during the near end of the game. The principality? What would he even gain from allying with them? Rhoda asked. It's because my homeland isn't like here. Males aren't treated so poorly, women and men are equal and only answer to the royal family. It's a lot better for a commoner to be here than be used as a throwaway husband. Jeremiah pitched in, suggesting the possible idea on the rumors on why Ali would consider it, before giving a look of genuine curiosity to the people in the room. What, Jeremiah? Have you perchance been in the principality before? Harmonia asked. Jeremiah chuckled mirthlessly. Been there? I used to live in it. Wait, what? Naruto said as he turned to his mother. You seriously didn't know he was a member of the enemy place? No, I haven't, the woman weakly confirmed. I knew he was an exchange transfer student, but... The man simply lifted his hand. It's nothing, my family migrated here due to a power struggle at home. We lost our favor in the principality when it was certain we had no power in there. Trading secrets and our pride, we got more power here. I was a viscount before handing the reins to my youngest sister. Naruto scratched his head, and, you never bothered to tell us, why? Yeah, I second that. Harmonia lost her usual noble tone and air for a more casual one. Forgive me, I didn't think it was worth mentioning at the time. The bodyguard said as the two nobles groaned at the surprise. Even their staff members were almost important people. Still, I am not fond of that man, considering that man caused Lord Redgrave. Jeremiah, Harmonia shouted, scaring both younger members. You forgot your place, she warned as the man's eyes widened and took a knee. Forgive my rudeness, your highness. I spoke out of turn. It will not happen again. See to it that it doesn't. Harmonia glared at the bodyguard with righteous anger. Naruto goes to bed, no arguments. She ordered her son, who wanted to say something but chose not to. He looked at Jeremiah, who glanced at him with a shake of his head. Yes, mother? Naruto sighed, before bowing and taking his leave. Rhoda soon followed, after her own bow to her master's mother. Damn it, she punched her wall as she felt fury come up from her soul. She never felt such anger since that moment when it happened. When she lost someone, from the fact she realized her body was strong enough to do it. The woman soon knelt over as Jeremiah rushed to her side, watching with great worry as she clutched her chest. No, she breathed out with great difficulty, I can't, keep going. Lady Harmonia, don't overexert yourself. Jeremiah said with worry. I'm fine, Jeremiah, she said as she slowly started to breathe correctly. But, please, don't fret over me. Harmonia looked at her bodyguard, her expression having resolve and conviction in them. How much longer? Jeremiah asked with a grim look on his face. The woman smirked. My favorite doctor said I had 3 months, last year. She chuckled softly at the bad joke. Jeremiah looked at her with mild incredulousness. Even now, you still find the time to jape. Otherwise, she closed her eyes in sharp pain as she spoke. It makes living harder. I'm not going to leave until I know his plans are complete. She swore as she stood up. Until then, until my child has able to get his plans in motion for our country protection, I will stay strong. My lady, he said with a sad tone, you need medical attention, not to aid more stress. He suggested as the woman shook her head. None of our nation's medicine can hope to cure my illness. Harmonia pointed out, better to aid my son than to be stuck in bed. That will be enough of that talk. Remember, should I die, you shall protect my son. He will need people to stand. She trailed off, looking to the side. By him, something wrong? Jeremiah asked as the woman nodded. Get the fire gun, damn? She turned to make sure she was correct as Jeremiah nodded to her words. Apparently, my son is doing something stupid. What could he possibly be doing? Jeremiah couldn't help but ask. Earning some loyalty, the matriarch of the family said as she followed Jeremiah to get the machine. The same time as Harmonia and Jeremiah. Man, she was pissed? Naruto said as he and Rhoda entered their room. He forgot she technically lived with him as most slaves. Naruto mentally cringed at that correct phase. Do with their master to please them. He lived nearly all the time in the Gundam hangar until he finally noticed the sweeter smell of something in the air. First time in any lifetime I was sent to my room. He started sadly, before smiling. I like it. Since having no parents and nearly a good kid in his last life, he never got scolded by his parents save for a pretty good hook from his mother back in his mindscape. You're odd, Rhoda blinked. The blonde shrugged, taking off his shirt as he undid his bandages. Can't believe I had to take a beating like that. I feel Sasuke would be kicking my ass. Who's Sasuke? Old jerk of a friend. Naruto questioned himself with a goofy smile, but he sighed. Still, that man, wasn't expecting him at all. I wonder if there's anyone else like him here? I highly doubt it. Rhoda shook her head. But you shouldn't worry about those things anymore. For now, your focus should be on recovering. The blonde agreed. Yeah, but man, I wish we could go to the hangar to pick up some sodas. Naruto whined as he wanted to at least get a drink of his favorite old last life. You can drink all the sodas tomorrow. How about some tea for tonight? Rhoda offered. You got tea here? Naruto said, watching the girl taking a small tea set and hot water from a portable stove he made and gave to his mother and Jeremiah. Yes, what would you like? Earl Grey or lemongrass? The wolf maid said as she shook different metal boxes. Since you might want to stay up and work, Earl Grey has some caffeinated stuff you told me about. She soon boiled the water as Naruto took a moment to think. Sure, Naruto mumbled as he looked away, not realizing Rhoda was adding something to his teacup. Hey Rhoda. He started as the girl slightly stiffened. Thank you for helping with the plan. Not many slaves, well treated or not, will do that for me or any master. Of course, you know that I will always live to serve you, master. Rhoda said, before continuing to make his tea. You're not like most masters. You are kind, compassionate, and selfless. And I'm grateful for that. She said, looking down. Do you remember my first day? Rhoda said with a sad smile. I keep looking for a way to leave your side so I wouldn't do any work. Hey, yeah, clear as day. Naruto chuckled. Keep chasing you time and again, but I never hated it. Rhoda nodded, passing him his tea. That's why I feel like it's a dream or a curse for me to be here. To be with powerful people who are kind and amazing, while I was a thief trying to survive on stolen bread. You did what you had to do to survive. Naruto pointed out. If we hadn't met, who knows what would have happened to you. Yeah, that's why I need to figure it out myself. Master, the young girl said as she kindly smiled at him, as a single tear rolled down her face. Master, Naruto, thank you for being part of my life. The blonde tilted his head as he. Whoa, he mumbled, his mouth feeling groggy as he fell to his bed, watching Rhoda standing before him. Whoa, da? He tried to speak as the girl looked away. I'm sorry, she said, opening his window and jumping out. The blonde soon got on his back, hitting the floor as he pulled out a small brownish pill. He quickly took a deep breath and bit it as hard as he was able, soon nearly turned green from the taste before soldier on through as it became a disgusting tasting mush in his mouth, and swallowed it. Soon power and energy surged throughout his body as he smiled. Yeah. He said, standing up as he felt the drug or whatever Rhoda made him drink was no longer working on him. Rhoda, Naruto called out, looking out the window. He soon leapt out as he scaled down the wall chasing after her, before kicking the wall hard enough to cause a loud noise as he tried to boost his speed. Why did she do this? Naruto didn't care as he wanted to hear reasons for leaving. It was not like her to leave without telling him her real reasons. He will not let her go until he is sure she's safe.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.